CA Sanjay Nikam, Regional Council member and the Direct Tax Committee Chairman. We have taken this initiative this year. Actually, this committee, this study group is there since last 2-3 sessions also, years also. We are revamping this group this year and we have created a new group now. And let me tell you, this is the largest group, study group WRC has. We have more than 171 members and this number will increase day by day. And this is the first meeting we are organizing on the topic. Idea behind creating such group is that we will have an interaction because none of the chartered accountants is inferior in knowledge. Everyone is expert in their own domain. And for direct tax and indirect tax, since it is our day-to-day practice, and every chartered accountant from the day he started his articleship, his conversion with the direct tax. So for me, every chartered accountant, even if he's not comfortable with other verticals, but he's comfortable with direct tax definitely. तो direct tax तो एक subjective हुआ है हमारे लिए, उसमें हर एक जन expert है, हर एक जन के पास एक अपना experience है, हर एक के पास अपना एक opinion है, and हर एक के पास अपना एक problem भी है. To resolve those problems with the knowledge bank of all the chartered accountants, guided by such expert speakers, and that is the idea why we are bringing all of you together. It will not be a unilateral deliberation, it will be an interaction between experts and experienced. So that is the idea. I would like to elaborate about the Direct Tax Committee also. These are niche area where we inviting people for dedicated assembly. Apart from that, from our side, we have a Direct Tax Committee. Let me tell you that Direct Tax Committee also is the largest committee of WIRC. This year is going to be a unique year for all of us because we observed in 2017, we had a new act as a GST. Similarly, we are going to see a direct tax code this year, though it is not a new act, but there are drastic changes in that act. Apart from learning, there may be unlearning issues. मुझे लगता है ज़्यादा unlearning वाला issue आने वाला है कि which are the provisions they have eliminated, जो नए ले लिए है, procedure में change हो गया. सबसे important बात, because since chairman of this committee, I got opportunity to interact with the CBDT people, and even we had one meeting at Aikar Bhavan with PCCIT, etc. for exchanging information. तो उन्होंने हमको एक टास्क दिया था जो डायरेक्ट टैक्स कमेटी ICI ने कंप्लीट किया, observation about the new bill. उसमें around 600 plus observations we have given. So one thing we observed very carefully, that interpretation is going to a new issue here. Interpretation एक challenge होने वाला है because बहुत सारे terms उन्होंने change कर दिए and उसकी वजह से welcome मैम, उसी वजह से सिनारियो चेंज होने वाला है. तो अगली जो हमारी कमिटी मीटिंग्स होगी, अपने ग्रुप मीटिंग्स होगी, तो उसमें धीरे धीरे हम लोग वो टॉपिक लेंगे. एंड सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट ये टॉपिक जो हमने आज सिलेक्ट किया, तो अगर आपने देखा रहेगा तो वी हैव टचिंग सिंगल एस्पेक्ट, सिर्फ एक सिंगल एस्पेक्ट पे बात कर रहे हैं, उसमें निश डीप डाइविंग होने वाला है इसमें निश एरियाज में. तो इसके आगे जो भी टॉपिक्स रहेंगे ना, वो स्पेसिफिक टू द निश एरिया रहेगा. जैसा कैपिटल गेन ऑन शेयर्स एंड सिक्योरिटीज एक चैप्टर है, वैसा अगले इसमें भी वो चैप्टर्स रहेंगे. फ्रीक्वेंसी ऑफ मीटिंग्स वी विल कीप यू अपडेटेड विद, मेरे हिसाब से once in a month, okay? If need so, if demand is there, we will repeat twice a month also करेंगे, but देखते कैसे होता है. So this is all, and from me. Now Jayesh Shah sir is there with me. Jayesh Shah sir का introduction मैं कैसे करूँ, because अभी लीफ में हमारी बात हो रही थी. Mangesh Kinere sir was here. He was past chairman of WIRC and 3 terms regional council member, 2 terms central council member. But उनके initial days से sir WIRC के साथ connected है, तो you can understand what kind of experience exposure he is bringing to the dais. And जब हमारी बात हो रही थी कि फर्स्ट सेशन हमारा होना है, तो उसमें हम किसको इनवाइट करें, तो देयर वर 3 नेम्स एंड वी वर, आई विल नॉट टेक 2 नेम्स नाउ, बट जब मैंने बात किया सीनियर से, स्पेशली मंगेश सर से, सर 3 फैकल्टीज है और एक मेरे को सिलेक्ट करना है, तो बोलते बोलो कौन सा, तो मैंने जयेश यार, बोला आगे का बता मत। आई स्वेयर मैंने मंगेश सर के सामने एक्सेप्ट किया, नहीं आगे का बता मत, यू स्टार्ट विद जयेश भाई, आगे की आगे बात करते हैं, इज राइट पर्सन फॉर दिस। सो दिस काइंड ऑफ रिप्यूटेशन एंड एक्सपर्टीज सर हैज। बाकी माइन्यूट डिटेल में मैं नहीं जाऊंगा, बिकॉज सर से आज हमको बहुत सुनना है, समझना है, सीखना है। तो सर डैश इज योर and we start the sessions.
Good evening, friends. Thank you for the nice words, Sanjay bhai. I hope I can stand up to your words and at least do justice to the subject. The subject which we are going to discuss today is the capital gains on shares and securities. See, of late, last 4-5 years, there is a lot of activities in stock market going on. Every day turnover in say, National Stock Exchange and BSE increasing above some 1 lakh crore. Every day mutual fund investments which is increasing in by leaps and bounds. Number of demand accounts are increasing. Altogether with the data compilation which income tax department is doing with AIS, which we were not getting the information from the client from last 3 years. Everybody has observed that all the share transactions are due to 285BA, which is being uploaded by the brokers and exchanges. All the informations are available on your desktop. So all that has increased the compliance for the shares and securities transactions. So in that case, our role as a chartered accountant has increased more. So I'll take you through my discussion. I've divided in 3 parts. I'll just overview the basic provisions. I'll not take much time on that because all are conversant with provisions. But I'll just dwell upon basic provisions, and then we will have which are the recent amendment from 24 for assessment year 25-26 that I briefly touch on, and then we'll give more time on case studies, which I have compiled 10-12 case studies that we will able to do the discussion. Basic provision which capital gain chapter covers, as we know, it is a 45 to 55 is the provision which covers the charging of capital gains. Apart from important definitions on the capital gains related to capital asset, transfers, long-term and short-term, some certain provision on section 10, and rates of taxes as defined in 11, 111A, 112, 112A, for special chapter on non-resident, and certain anti-avoidance and carry-forward provisions. These are the important sections that we need to understand before we delve on the subject. 45 is the basic charging section. The incidence of capital gain arises when there is a transfer of capital asset during the previous year. So the 2 important definition is capital asset and transfer that we need to understand. So capital asset is any property asset held by the assessee. So important thing is held by the assessee, that is to be understood. It is not the ownership. It is not linked to the ownership. It is held by the assessee. Asset has to be a capital asset when it is transferred, which then only capital gain arises. Shares and securities are to be understood as defined under Section 2H of Securities Act, that is shares, bonds, derivatives, etc. Certain assets are not covered. Exclusions are, as we know, capital, the stock in trade, if it is held as a stock in trade. It is not to be considered agriculture land, personal effects, all are not considered as a capital asset, and transfer of that item doesn't give rise to incidence of capital gain. Second important definition is transfer. Capital asset has to be transferred. The transfer includes sale. That is a normal course. When we do any transaction, there is a sale, capital gain arises. Apart from sale, transaction of exchange, relinquishment, extinguishment, compulsory acquisition under any law, conversion of stock in trade to capital asset, redemption, allowing possession under 53A of Transfer of Property Act. All that gives rise to the transfer. The explanation 2 is being added in view of that Vodafone judgment that if it is an indirect transfer, then even in foreign entity which gives rise to the transfer of asset in India or business transfer in India, that is also covered as a transfer. Major amendment in 2024 Act is mainly on 2 count, mainly holding period. Previously, there used to be a 3 type of holding period, 12 months, 24 months, and 36 months. Now there is only 2 holding period, 12 months and 24 months. Rates of taxes are previously for 112 tax rate was 20% and 10%. Now it is 12.5%. For 112A, it was 10%, which is increased. It is now 12.5%. And 111A for the short-term capital gain, it was 15%, which is increased to 20%. The indexation benefit is now done away with. There is no more indexation available. Indexation is available only to the limited transaction up to 22nd July 24 for the land and building transaction if it is acquired before 22nd July 24. And there also, if there is a loss, then it is to be ignored. So there is now parity between previously used to be non-resident and resident tax rate were little different. So now there is a parity between resident and non-resident. All tax rates remain same. So all the assets which are, if it is hold more than 12 months, that is a listed security, units of unit trust of India, units of equity oriented fund and zero coupon bonds, if it is hold for more than 12 months, are long-term asset. Unlisted says if it is hold for more than 24 months, and if property hold for more than 24 months is long-term asset, and any other asset which is hold for more than 12 months after 23rd July 24, and prior to 23rd July, it is a 36 months for earlier term. So for counting period of holding certain type of transaction, we have to understand when it is a asset has come into possession of the assessee by way of inheritance, gift, or succession, then previous owner period also is to be counted for considering the period of holding. When shares are received in amalgamation, demerger proceeding, then holding of the earlier company shares are also to be counted. In case of rights, yeah, please.
Just prior to this, you mentioned that loss is to be ignored. It is not immortal property, you said that indexation.
Indexation benefit from 23rd July is not available. Only for the limited transaction, what they have allowed is for the land and building transaction, indexation benefit can be availed if it is purchased prior to 22nd July. But if there is a loss in the computation, then loss is to be ignored. You cannot set off that loss against the other income.
Cannot be carried forward.
Loss is to be ignored. Ignored. That is what is the section, that provision is.
In the year, two property also, one is before 23rd and after the 23rd, second is. So both, even a set off will not?
No, set off will not be there. Set off will not be there.
Even though both are prior to 23rd July. And one is profit, one is loss. Then also no set off.
No set off. For the current year, we will not get the set off. Only for the limited purpose of indexation, If for the transaction between April to 23rd July, yes. If it is a property is purchased prior to 23rd July, yes, you can take the indexation. Even for current year also, you can take the indexation. But if loss, if any, on the transaction, we cannot set off.
Because of indexation, it happens that.
Yeah, if at all you got a loss by indexation, then loss is to be ignored. We cannot set off the loss.
And without indexation, if the loss is arising, then we are not going for the index option. And if there is a loss, then can we carry forward, or we can take the benefit of settlement within a year?
Yeah,
Can we
if
take-
without indexation there is loss, yes. There is no question.
Two question?
Same
Okay.
question.
One more thing, sir. Now,
Yeah.
we have diverted to, I can take that initial. See, in definition, you said own versus held,
Yeah.
and importance is given for the holding of the asset.
Held,
Okay.
yeah.
So can you give some examples of how it is?
See, typically, if you are holding a right, so right you may not be owning it. Say tenancy right. Tenancy right, you don't own it, but it is a right. You hold it. So that sort of a say business right. You have some rights on territory or leasehold rights.
That question again will open a Pandora box, because for MIDC land, actually this lecture is on shares. Yeah. Can I take liberty to go to the land and build?
That's right.
So for MIDC is very crucial issue for me. I am thinking on this topic since many days and years. MIDC property is a lease property. Income tax is asking capital gain on it,
Yeah.
and GST is asking GST on it. So if it is a capital asset, why we should pay the GST? And if we are paying GST, then how it is capital asset? That is the dilemma always goes in my mind, but there is no solution. हाँ, but वो GST के लिए आ रहा है. See, if GIDC का आया, मुंबई का भी
asking
आया.
on rent, or
Yeah.
they are asking on lease rent. They are
Lease rent.
lease rent. They are asking. Yeah.
If you are paying GST on lease rent, that's fine. But they are asking for on capital value also.
Acha, GST.
GST is asking.
Transfer of
favorism, right? And Bombay High Court, they have still hold the judgment.
The thing is that these decisions are as per high courts, different high courts. As long as it doesn't go to the Supreme Court and act doesn't come with the solution, yeah, ऐसे ही चलते रहेगा. So there is big dilemma on this. Not only here, 50C also applicable.
50C also and GST also you cannot claim. That is also a big problem.
So if 50C is applicable, GST should not be there. So yeah, this is the way, this is the area where chartered accountants should apply their mind. Litigation के लिए बहुत अच्छा scope है, fees charge करो.
More like that GIDC was all about the assignment of leasehold rights.
Yes.
And in Gujarat High Court said that according to them, assignment of leasehold rights shall be treated as land itself.
Okay.
So that is currently a judgment which is again we know that in
That is the point of law.
correct.
Assignment of rights.
TDR always, it is also one of the
TDR
big
it's a right.
TDR always, whether it is land or right.
Right.
That is the question.
Question.
Yes.
Yeah, coming to the holding period, in case of a bonus, it is to be considered from the date on which it is allotted. Sweat equity, from date on which it is allotted, it starts. In case of shares in demat account, the holding period is to be counted on a FIFO method. So if a person is holding same script in 2-3 demat account, and the period of holding may be different, but this from the demat account, from which demat account is transferring the shares, that date is to be counted, and that also on FIFO method if the shares are purchased in various tranches.
Sir, what is sweat equity shares?
Sweat equity from the date of allotment.
Exactly what is this?
Sweat equity is typical
like
ESOP, yeah, where it is without consideration. The shares are given without consideration to the employee. Particularly technology company uses this more.
Professionals, sometimes they are allotted.
Yeah, that's right.
Also will be
So without payment of any consideration,
And
it
in
is
startups. also-
consideration is sweat. That is the concept.
But there is one valuation issue.
In
those
AC
shares.
office. Yeah.
Valuation issue can arise there. So.
Yeah, valuation issue arise in case of unlisted company, but listed company valuation is FMB. That's all.
Yes.
FMB. Yeah. So,
So for people, I had one question.
Yeah.
So if the same script is held in different demats, like you mentioned, and the demat from which it is sold, rightly, in that particular demat, FIFO has to be considered.
yeah, from that demat account.
When the return is now filled, and when we fill out the form schedule 118, when all the details of the assets are given, will it be a problem for 143 at the CPC level at least to, because then we are facing a lot of issues in getting CPC information regarding shares and securities.
What type of problem you are?
No, not in this relation, but I'm just getting, because current year I have that problem with one of the assessment cases where the same script is sold across different demats, and then when I was just thinking, how will we put it in the return of income?
Okay.
So when I have to fill a schedule 11A, the 112A in the return, I mean, there, FIFO basis, if you see an overall thing, it will calculate the capital gains differently. And in certain cases, what will happen is grandfathering cost is getting substituted. So the capital gain
112,
getting
yeah.
calculated is also different. If I look at across different, so 143.1 when the, at the CPC level,
Cost is not. There is no cost in the discount.
AIS में नहीं है, but क्या होगा रिटर्न में जब मेरा सेल डेट्स आ रहा है और परचेज डेट्स आ रहा है, तो मेरा वहाँ पे तो मैं डिफरेंशिएट नहीं कर सकती कि ये कौन से डीमैट से भरा है.
No, but you have to put against each transaction, you have to put the date, no? Against each transaction, you have to give the date of purchase and sell, no?
Each transaction I have to give, but
Yeah.
it is across different DMATs. So if I
But that exercise we'll have to do on our own, on manually, like from on FIFO basis, which shares are
so that I
has
can
gone.
do.
Yeah.
But when I put it up in the return of income, a FIFO basis for the assessee as such across all DMATs, giving a different value in capital gains, and when I calculate FIFO basis on each DMAT basis, because of grandfathering, I'm getting a different value of capital gains.
But then typically you have to follow what is as per FIFO basis, as per from each demat, yeah, each demat.
But in that case, CPC will issue.
That is what I was worried.
It is-
CPC में वो at that level I cannot explain. मतलब then I have to.
They will not
explain
understand
reply
it.
to that notice की.
Because they will go by their own data and
They
will
do
watch.
the report that broker has filed.
Yes.
So that broker is fine, and also in my return of income when I put the sale dates and purchase dates, there is no way to explain that this is two separate DMATs.
That is
But I
what
think
we
that
create.
is a practical issue. In lot of cases, it happens that your say your transfer your shares from one demat to other demat account. Typically, broker counts the date on which that shares has gone into that demat account. So the broker report will show some other date of acquisition. Actual date of acquisition is something different. So that type of practical difficulty do crops up in day to day.
We can solve only in appeals.
Yeah.
But that too with 20% liability.
Appeal में भी वो officer को sale का knowledge होगा तो बाकी very difficult to understand that. Very difficult.
Yeah. But, yeah, these are certain
Match
issues.
solution brokers
Yeah,
calculation.
but try to match with the broker's detail, otherwise it will create.
Best solution is
That may be
you have to
practical
give-
solution.
Practical solution, brokers
Broker.
calculation, you put.
Because normally people.
I may be wrong.
But that may not be, if at all comes for a scrutiny and somebody goes into detail, yes, it can, you may face difficulty if at all the value are higher from your side.
The values are high, that was precisely
Yeah.
the reason why I got.
So if you are
I-
reporting higher income, I don't think department will take objection to it.
No, if you calculate it on an overall SSE basis, then it will be higher.
Uh,
If I calculate it on a DMAT basis, then it is lower. So then what will happen at the CPC level is again, फिर वो unnecessarily it will get escalated, it will be sent to the assessing officer, then I have to explain that this is separate DMAT.
But if it is a substantial amount, then it
Then
is
we
worth.
have to take chance.
Then if it is a substantial amount, then you stick by law. Law is with you. So if it is a worth taking that sort of, you know that at the most what is going to happen is you have to go for appeal. Nothing more than that.
ये में अभी तक settle नहीं हो पाए. 5-6 SSC में अलग-अलग.
Yes.
एक में दिया, 3 में नहीं दिया.
Yes, that's So amendment just have tabulated before 22nd up to 22nd July and after 23rd July. So mainly now for all majority listed things, it is a 12 months, and other than listed, it is a 24 months. And land and building, yes, what it was previously, it is same period. For unlisted shares also, previously it was 24 months. The current amendment is also 24 months. The important provision new provision which has come from 2023 budget is 50 AA section, which is introduced for special provision for market link debenture and unlisted bonds and debentures. See, market link debenture are typically linked to derivative products where it is not exactly a equity product. So previously, prior to 23, it being a listed debenture, they used to get the concessional rate of taxation of 10%. And to plug that, they have amended the law. Now, by default, all market link debenture, whatever gain you receive is a short-term gain. Apart from market link debenture, specified mutual fund which are purchased from April 23 onwards, that is all where investments are more in more than 65% investment in debt securities. That is typically a debt fund. They are considered to be a short term always. You will never get a benefit of long term. This year onwards, they have from 23rd July 24, they have increased that list. Unlisted bond and unlisted debentures are also considered. Any unlisted bond and debentures which are transferred or redeemed after 23rd July, they will also be considered as a short term. So this sort of asset will always be considered as short term, irrespective of period of holding. Unlike as we discussed, 50 AA is short-term gain on section 50, that is on depreciable asset. If it is a block of asset, it is always considered as a short-term gain. Section 47 lists out the transaction which is not considered as a transfer. These are the transaction where it is typically gift and transaction between holding and subsidiary, amalgamation, merger, demerger, stock lending, which is prevalent heavily in current scenario. A lot of people are doing stock lending, and that gives you a income without transferring the actual shares. So that stock lending is also not considered as a transfer under 47. Consolidation of mutual fund, conversion of sole proprietary partnership to LLP company or company to LLP, conversion of preference shares to equity shares, debenture to equity shares, global depository receipt conversion, conversion of gold into electronic gold receipt. All that transactions are not considered as a transfer, and this sort of a transaction will not give rise to the capital gains as it is not a transfer. The important aspect that we need to determine is the cost of acquisition for calculation of capital gain. The cost in normal course, the cost of acquisition is cost for which it is being acquired. But if it is a asset has come into possession other than own acquisition, then it is a previous owner's cost of acquisition. If it is from partition of HUF, then cost of the original cost at which it is being acquired.
Date is also date of previous.
Yeah, you have to count the period of holding also goes back to that date. Yeah.
If it is going beyond 2000, the first April.
Then 1st April 2000.
Does the law also support that? Because there was one decision.
Manjula Shah, yeah. Manjula Shah. Yeah, Bombay.
But is it because of that you are saying, or does the law
Law has that.
No, Manjula Shah still holds good because there is nothing, because there is there is no, Supreme Court has rejected the writ petition filed against that case. So that holds good.
Decided on
Yeah.
that holding also period also
Will be counted of the previous one.
Previous.
And in case of a shares, if it is acquired prior to 31st January 2018, FMV as on 31st January 2000, 1st February 2018, FMV as on 31st January 2018 to be considered in case of equity shares. So typically, machinery section 48, we need to have a full value of consideration which is received or accrued as a result of transfer of capital asset by reducing the expenditure incurred wholly and exclusively in connection with such transfer, that is 48.1, and 48.2, cost of acquisition of the asset and cost of any improvement. That gives a capital gains. So in case of a non-resident who has invested shares and in shares and debentures of Indian company, as a he can in calculate the capital gain in a foreign currency in which he has invested originally, and in same currency he can calculation can be done as per 48.1. 48.2 gives the indexation benefit that is abolished, that is done away with 23rd July 24. Except for the individual and HUF for the land and building, as we discussed acquired prior to 23rd July. STT paid on the transaction is not allowed as an expenditure, as a deduction for calculation. And FMV as on 1/4/2001 is considered as a cost in case of if assets are acquired prior to 1/4/2001. So here point that is to be noted is, in case of a land and building, FMV as on 1/4/2001 is a stamp duty value as on 1/4/2001. Previously, that was also a issue which people used to take advantage, valuation. So now that also is being plugged. So as on 1/4/2001, stamp duty value as on 1/4/2001 is only considered as a cost, not a market value typically.
in case of share, if there are PMS shares, then the management costs.
Yeah, I'll come to that point. I have taken in case study that we will discuss. Yeah. So now coming to the rates, short-term capital gain typically under section 111A, when it is transferred and when there is a security transactions is paid on the transaction, then up to 22nd July, the tax rate is 15%. Post 23rd July, tax rate is 20%. Apart from, and this STT is not applicable if transaction is done in IFSC, that is International Financial Capital Market in that GIFT City. If it is done in GIFT City, then question of STT doesn't arise. Otherwise, if it is STT is not paid on transaction, under 11A benefit is not available. And Chapter 6A benefit is not allowable against this gain. All other short-term capital gain is to be charged and slab rate for the short term. Typically, short term we make as a tabular form. Short-term capital gain on a equity shares or unit of equity-oriented fund or business trust. If it is a listed, then sell up to 22nd July. Is listed and STT is paid, then sell up to 22nd July, it is 15%. Post 23rd July, it is 20%. If STT is not paid, then again it is on a slab rate. In case of unlisted shares, it is a normal slab rate. So unlisted shares prior to 23rd July, the indexation benefit was available on calculation of capital gain. That now again indexation benefit will also not be available. Tax rate will be on a slab rate. Going to long-term capital gain tax, long-term is tax in as per section 112. So tax rate previously it used to be on 10% on a listed securities, and other than listed security, capital gain used to be 20% up to 22nd July. Now across board it is now 12.5% post 23rd July. Uh, apart from 112, the share on the listed security where security transaction tax is paid on acquisition and transfer of the equity share, it is and on a unit of a equity mutual fund and business trust fund, business trust units. Tax rate up to 22nd July is 10%, and post 23rd July it is 12.5%. Here, grandfathering benefit is available under 55 to AC, and tax is to be paid in excess of 1.25 lakh gain for the assessment year 25-26. Previously, it was 1 lakh. Now it is 1.25 lakhs. So here, indexation benefit is not available. Provision of that proviso first and second is not applicable when you calculate gain under 112A.
If prior to 23rd July, my LTCG has exceeded 1 lakh, but it is less than 1.5.
It is to be considered for whole year. So 1.25 lakh is for the year 24-25. So chapter 6A against this gain, chapter 6 deductions are not available. Cost of acquisition in case of bonus shares, if it is received prior to 31st January, FMV as on 31st January is to be counted. And CBDT circular on April 24 has given certain situation where STT on the purchase is not paid. On acquisition side, it is not paid. Still, they are eligible for 112A. Typically, transaction, initial. The transaction when it was STD was not applicable, or a transaction where it was not possible because it's an unlisted entity. So all the transactions there.
87A rebate also not available.
That will come to case study. I have taken in case study. We'll discuss that. Typically, the long-term capital gain on sale of equity shares and units of equity-oriented fund, if it is a listed equity shares and equity-oriented units of equity-oriented fund, if it is sold through recognized stock exchange, that STT is paid on purchase, acquisition, and sell, then 10% up to 22nd July, 12.5% post 22nd July, and grandfathering is available, and capital gain above 1.25 lakhs is to be taxed. If it is sold off market, then it is 20% is the 20% up to 22nd July, and post 22nd July it is 12.5%. If it is unlisted shares, then 20% with indexation up to 23rd July, and 12.5% without indexation. There is a separate chapter 11A for a non-resident, which is available to the non-resident if he has invested in shares and assets in foreign exchange. Chapter 12A consists of section 115C to 115I. these are the special provision which non-resident Indian, it is applicable to non-resident Indian only. It is not applicable to all non-resident. It is to non-resident Indian only on, and that also on investment income and long-term capital gain on foreign exchange. Pardon? Yeah. Yes. No deduction under chapter 6A is available again in this provisions, and benefit of second proviso to 48 is also not applicable here. While calculating capital gain here, indexation benefit for up to 23rd July is not applicable, and they are not eligible to calculate capital gain based on indexation benefit. The specified assets are shares in Indian company, debentures, deposits, public company, and central government securities. Tax rate which are applicable is 20% on long-term capital gain up to 22nd July, and 10% on specified long-term capital gain on specified asset. It is 10%. And post 23rd July, it is 12.5% across the board. So long-term capital gain is not chargeable here. It's a typical benefit they are eligible for. If long-term capital gain is not chargeable, if within 6 months they invest in specified asset and they hold it for 3 years, then long-term capital gain is not chargeable, like 54 benefit is available to resident.
So many times we come across the practical issue, if the asset is sold in February and people forget to invest or deposit it into the capital gain savings scheme, and in March, in February they are doing the transaction, and they argue that they have the 6 months to invest. So they take the shield that investment के लिए 6 महीना है, तो capital gain savings scheme में भी मैंने नहीं डाला तो चल जाता है. So is that the case?
No.
No.
From the date of transfer, you have to consider the investment.
On 31st March, it is not invested. Okay. And in June, he is filing return. For example, he is a salaried employee. Feb में किया है, June में return file कर रहा है, तो 6 months is not yet completed. And that money is lying in his bank account. He has not shifted it to the capital gain savings scheme, neither he has invested in any asset.
Okay.
So what stand we can take? वो बोल रहे हैं मैं रिटर्न के बाद 6 महीना बाकी है मेरे पास, तो कैपिटल गेन सेविंग स्कीम में डालना जरूरी है या शुड आई वेट फॉर 6 months? हाँ, इनके 6 months में उसने इन्वेस्ट नहीं किया और कैपिटल गेन में डाला ही नहीं, तो रिट्रोस्पेक्टिव इफेक्ट से नेक्स्ट ईयर में उसका तो लगने ही वाला टैक्स.
कैपिटल गेन डिपॉजिट स्कीम में डालना हो तो बिफोर ड्यू डेट ऑफ फाइलिंग ऑफ रिटर्न है. सो दैट
अगर वो डेट क्रॉस हो गया है
तो देन
6 month वाला लिमिट इज नॉट एप्लीकेबल टू हिम. दैट इज माय आर्गुमेंट.
ड्यू डेट ऑफ फाइलिंग ऑफ रिटर्न के पहले तो करना ही है.
Either 6 months or filing of due date of return.
6 अपना before due date, that is for capital gain account.
हाँ,
Not for these specified assets.
हाँ, capital gain
So
account.
your option, either you have to give disclosure कि मैं करूँगा करके डाल लो, अगर नहीं होता है तो रिवाइज भर के टैक्स भरना पड़ेगा. That is. So otherwise,
typically you are saying that
then this point will cover.
है ना, ये इशू आएगा 54 इसी, तो वो भी मार्च लास्ट वीक में सेल किया है या 15 मार्च को सेल किया है, देन यस ही हैज अ टाइम अप टू टिपिकली सितंबर तक टाइम है उसके पास टू इन्वेस्ट.
5,000 लेट फी भरो, सॉल्यूशन बेस्ट वही है. क्योंकि इसमें ऐसा नहीं है कि लेट भरा तो बेनिफिट नहीं मिलेगा, वो कंडीशन नहीं है. इसके लिए बेस्ट तो वही
file and then it's not yes. Basically, this capital gain scheme is not allowable for 54AC. It's only for reinvesting in a house property.
That is for due date.
Acquiring or constructing. Many times they keep that money in their own account only. After expiry of 6 months, they approach us, sir, करना क्या इसका? And that too, when we ask them कि भाई तेरा इसमें दिख रहा है, तुमने सेल किया है, हाँ तो किया है सर, इन्वेस्ट करेंगे ना? बट तब तक उसके अकाउंट में है।
अपना जयेश भाई, मेरा क्वेश्चन थोड़ा हटके है एनआरआई के लिए। अगर वो एनआरआई है तो डिविडेंड में उसको स्पेशल ट्रीटमेंट है
Yeah,
20%।
that is
बराबर।
20%.
लेकिन अगर वो डिविडेंड इनकम 15 लाख से ऊपर हो जाता है तो RNNOR हो जाता है, तो उसमें वो 20% का बेनिफिट उसका चला जाता है, फिर नॉर्मल रेट ऑफ टैक्सेशन हो जाता है।
नहीं,
हाँ सर, नहीं लेगा वो।
why you will not get? You'll get.
Because he becomes RNNOR. Not
Not ordinary resident.
Not ordinary resident बन जाता
because the return will not accept.
CPC does not accept.
हाँ,
So it's only for residents, that's the one.
that is only for NRI 20%. Otherwise slab rate में तो more than 15% you have to pay 30%.
I doubt ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. I doubt because practically.
एक्सपायर अभी हुआ है इसके लिए।
That may be a technical or software issue we can.
Software issue, man. Otherwise, it
है। But अगर if it is a software issue, he can proceed further ना, because it is not accepted.
Not software issue, straight away. Once he becomes resident NRR तो special treatment में से 20%
But sir, आप जो बोल रहे हो, if because his income is above 15 lakhs, so he doesn't become a resident. He is a resident, but not ordinary resident.
not ordinary
So
resident.
resident but not ordinary resident is typically scope of income, taxable income is only Indian income.
यार, यहाँ तो क्या है, आप CPC जानते हो ना? They are charging.
So, but state income limit cannot be determining the status of.
Of course.
Exactly. नहीं, वही तो है, स्पेशल हो गया है ना कि 15 लाख के ऊपर गया है तो इनकम रेसिडेंट NOR, अदरवाइज NOR, नॉन रेसिडेंट।
Is it so, sir?
नहीं, I don't think-
Residential status depends on your income.
Yes, yes.
No, that is typically आपका वो number of days and all that, if it's 120 days.
नंबर ऑफ इनकम बिकॉज़ उसका बजट का डिविडेंड ही 60 लाख आता है।
So you are talking that income also determines the residential status?
हाँ, one specially.
I am also surprised. Huh?
नहीं sir, I don't think it is.
Just
what you are
for
saying.
sake of understanding, this is brainstorming issue. I also surprised. Can you put it in the group? That link at least, we'll study on that and we'll have a discussion on the group. It is something different I heard.
I will give you the details of 24-25.
Yeah, please. According to me,
It is only the ITR is not taking it up.
Yes.
Is that provision is in the act?
Provision is in the act.
Or is it technical?
When
Resident
non-resident
taxable income is more than
is,
15 lakhs. If you don't have any other source of income, then you are a deemed resident.
Team resident.
That's the point.
You
It's
can
an
change
guideline.
the-
Where-
दुबई वालों के लिए इतना है वो कर गया तो इसके लिए उन्होंने आर और नॉन रेसिडेंट किया कि खाली अपना यहाँ का इनकम टैक्सेबल हो, नहीं तो पहले तो रेसिडेंट किया तो उसमें तो बड़ा है वो हो गया, दुबई वालों ने वो लोग ने ये कर दिया।
It
When a
is.
non-resident income who is not taxable in the country of his residence, in this case he becomes RLOR, income exceeds certain.
15 lakhs।
सर आप एक रिप्रेजेंटेशन बनाओ।
नहीं जरूरी नहीं है, अभी डायरेक्ट टैक्स कोड में तो रेसिडेंट का डेफिनेशन ही चेंज हो गया है, सो इट इज ऑलरेडी कंसीडर्ड देयर।
लेकिन पुराने केस में भी तो आना चाहिए ना, ये तो
तो
पूरा ही गलत है ना।
सर्कुलर
सर इसमें लेकिन वो जो ट्रांसफर होता है 15 CA 15 CA में हम लोग क्या करेंगे उसको क्या
नॉन रेसिडेंट
तो उसमें तो बहुत ज्यादा आ जाए।
the residential status is always troublesome for everyone, and adding this income criteria it become more troublesome, complicated. Which criteria we should focus on? Normally हम लोग पासपोर्ट लेके बैठ जाते थे,
exactly
अभी
number of
उसका
days
income
of
assess
stay.
करना पड़ेगा।
we all in bank statement income के bank statement should be there like सही रहेगा।
So I think there is one new topic for me. मैं ऐड ही कर रहा था टॉपिक्स। एनआरआई स्टेटस के ऊपर एक ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग लेना पड़ेगा। 6 है। बट सर वो ना अभी सनसेट प्रोविजन है, बिकॉज न्यू टैक्स रिजिम में वो नहीं है, मतलब उसने पूरा कंप्लीट चेंज किया है। तो अगर ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग सेशन लेना है तो वी विल टेक ऑन द न्यू प्रोविजंस। लेट अस सी, डिस्कस करते हैं।
And this chapter is optional, and assessee can chooses not to be assessed under this chapter. So surcharge, as we know, for capital gain, maximum is 15%. Now, let's discuss some case studies which I have compiled, and I expect everybody to participate in it.
One question I wanted to ask regarding
Yeah.
asset transfer. Last year, there was a scheme of arrangement launched by Tata Motors, section 230 to 232 under that. So there was a swap of shares, okay, and there was deemed dividend income at the end declared. So is this a transfer, capital gain transfer? Because
Swap of-
AIS doesn't disclose this transaction. at
Swap of Tata Motors shareholder got the share of some other company.
Ordinary shareholders got the ordinary shares, the swap ratio, and additionally they got a deemed dividend.
It is a deemed dividend.
But then this swap shares, is it a capital transfer? Your AIS doesn't disclose it anywhere.
Oh no, I am not able
It
to
doesn't
comprehend exactly transactions. You are saying Tata Motors shares has got
DVR के shares से
DVR. Okay, it is not a shares.
DVR, right?
Differential voting rights share. Okay, it is a shares. Okay.
normal equity shares है
Yeah, DVR share है.
DVR शेयर को उन्होंने कन्वर्ट किया नॉर्मल शेयर में, कुछ स्वैप रेशियो डिसाइड किया है।
हाँ।
उसके अंदर उन्होंने क्या बोला कि इस कंपनी का समझो आज वैल्यू है 1 लाख रुपया,
हाँ।
ये जो नया मिल रहा है उसका कुछ ज्यादा होगा, कम होगा तो भी। तो इन्होंने जो स्वैप किया है उसके ऊपर उन्होंने डीम डिविडेंड हिट किया है, डीम डिविडेंड है, उसके लिए उन्होंने टीडीएस जो काटा है, हमने स्वैप के अंदर तो 10 शेयर आने थे, उसकी जगह मेरे को 9 शेयर ही आए। एक शेयर को उन्होंने शेयर बता के उतना वो टीडीएस हमारा जमा किया।
That is an arrangement. My question is actually, there is a swap 10:7, मतलब वो is a swap here. This transaction is a capital transfer. It's not falling under the capital reduction scheme also.
Okay, so yeah, it
Totally got converted, okay. And the deemed dividend was declared.
it is an exchange sort of, and it is an exchange sort of. So we are holding differential voting share. Against that, we have got the regular equity shares. But then if we consider it as a conversion, we'll have to check whether that this conversion is, because majority of conversion of say preference to equity, debenture to equity, all these are covered in exclusion. These are not considered as a transfer. So whether this sort of a transaction falls into conversion, if I think they must have given tax advisory also on the issue.
They had given that computation in which they had taken that to be a capital transfer.
So
But
then
AIS doesn't reflect anywhere that transaction at all.
but AIS is not a benchmark.
And the cost of acquisition in that, they have considered to be nil. I mean, they have not assessed now what should be the cost of acquisition.
Cost of acquisition for each
And DVR shares cost of acquisition should be taken.
yes, for the each shareholder it will be
And
different.
then period of holding.
Yes, each shareholder it will be different. No?
But it is a capital transfer.
It is a capital transfer. Apparently, it is a capital transfer. You are saying that they have given. It is not covered in the conversion of DVR to, even my knowledge, DVR to equity is not covered in exclusion.
That is what I was.
It is not considered as an exclusion.
Specifically, they have not mentioned it in
Yeah,
exclusion.
it is not an exclusion.
Nor they have put it in transfer definition.
Transferred.
And the second part is when you resell now these converted shares. Okay, now the cost of acquisition needs to be the sale, the exchange. which
Date
took
of
place on the
conversion.
Date of conversion. Date on which you have, because it's a new asset. It's a new asset.
AIS doesn't take that as.
That is.
Understood. Yeah. So, but that's a practical
Huge
difficulty.
capital gain now because the cost of acquisition of the DVR shares was quite low.
Yeah.
And the Tata Motors original shares, the value was too high. So that difference, AIS is number two. Then while filing the ITR, I should continue with the our calculation, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
These kind of mismatches in the AIS, the capital gains are not reflecting properly, is it necessary to give a feedback on each?
Yeah, you
have
disclosure.
If you don't give feedback, then they will assume that you accepted this calculation, and if there is a difference, they will charge you. You have to give feedback. See, in my understanding, no, later on, after 5-6 years, our work will be limited to the response only. because they are going to get the complete information
On
about us,
board, yeah.
and we have to be watchful about what is reflected on my account. If it is something different and it is not as authorized by you, or that calculation is not as per your calculation, you have to raise your red flag there and there only. If you fail to do that within due date, they will calculate the tax on their own and they will charge.
But for each and every transaction, wherever the AIS, it's
It's very big now.
Holding, it cannot have, it
See,
don't have cost.
Right now, we are thinking that each and every transaction, there will be mechanism. Definitely, they will come out with a mechanism.
ट्रांजैक्शन में पूछते हैं वो लोग ऑफिस प्रोसेसिंग के टाइम पे गिव योर फीडबैक इन
Yes.
दिस ट्रांजैक्शन स्टार मार्क और समथिंग इज या लेट
Are you accepting it?
So, should we wait for this notice to come, or at the time of filing return, when I'm checking my AIS?
I think it is better proactively you respond against the.
Someone who is in this business, doing this as a full-time thing, the volume of transactions is
So high.
So high.
It's not to sit there.
See, in
Yeah.
that case, we have to guide him that this volume, you are creating volume, and we won't be in position to handle it in day or two. They have to, because in our office also, there are salaried employees taking 8-digit salary, and their ESOPs and all. Apart from salary, they have very big portfolio. Normally for employed employee assessee, उनके लिए तो भाई दे दिया मैंने फॉर्म 16 इज इनफ, पर जब उसका ये देखते हैं हम लोग रिकॉर्ड, तो पता चलता है इज मच बिगर देन द नॉर्मल ट्रेडर, नॉर्मल बिजनेसमैन. तो वहां पे वी हैव टू पुट आवर स्ट्रांग फुट अहेड कि भाई ये करके तुम लेके आओगे, हम नहीं कर सकते. इवन ये सब क्या होने वाला है, ये बर्डन अगर हम लोग ऐसे प्रैक्टिसिंग चैरिटी अपनी सर पे लेने वाला है ना, आगे जाके 4-5 साल के बाद में ये कंप्लायंस प्रैक्टिस रहने वाली है. रिटर्न्स में आपको अपने एसएससी को गाइड करना पड़ेगा. अपने सर पे लेके 2 दिन में यू कांट गिव एनी जस्टिस टू योर असाइनमेंट. ब्लेम गेम विल बी ऑन अस. चार्ज फॉर इट, बिकॉज उसके मैंने देखा, ये हम लोग ने टेस्ट किया है कि अगर उसने दिया हुआ डेटा के ऊपर मैंने कैलकुलेट किया या इस सिस्टम ने कैलकुलेट किया, हम उसके पास रिफाइन करके because that better, definitely they are saving lakhs of rupees on this. तो वो देख के अपना प्रॉपर्ली
What I feel is AI is just those data that is reported. Those will be.
That is
Correct.
But cost is
That's not possible.
No,
That's not because I also have a calculation that is not important. If the same value is more or less okay, then if the cost is not okay, should we still insist on giving feedback for each and every transaction?
That is practical
Yeah,
issue.
then I don't agree, this is not the cost, this is not
Yeah.
the cost.
And that also getting updated also. It's
Yeah.
not only keeping the same,
Same.
Yeah, exactly.
because whenever that party
Cost is
revises
as per
return
the
and all
database
those,
of the
it will
broker.
change.
So broker database may or may not be correct.
May not be correct.
They were all blind.
I think department also will get matured by then कि भाई ऐसा ऐसा होता है. Now it is in that new era.
Because the kind of transactions like the buybacks may be when the shares exit the account, वो पूरा एक entry आता है when the share is exiting the account. Again, there is an entry for this.
Double entry आता है उसमें. Yes, complete. In my personal case, buyback में complete. If I am owning 100 shares, and buyback में only 20 shares they are going to buy. What they do? They show that 100 shares gone out of my this thing, and 80 shares come back.
Come back.
And वो होता है कि 100 sell and ये purchase.
Purchases.
अच्छा, उसमें STD भी नहीं है. It clicks open rate. तो ये है थोड़ा deviation. Day before yesterday we had one AI course at Navi Mumbai, and there one at least sufficient time we invested on this issue only, calculation of share capitals. So उसमें there are many tools, even AI also. So I think that kind of technology will evolve in a year or two. जब ये reporting वाला matter आएगा, and if it is causing cost और बड़ा material impact आने वाला है, तो उसके ऊपर भी थोड़ा watch रखते हैं. And AI course join करो. वो tools
Yeah.
काम में आने वाले हैं बहुत.
That is true.
नहीं, लेकिन
That is going to be future.
वो टूल तो फिर ऑपरेट तो अपने को ही करना होता है.
बस योर चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट सीखने के लिए आया है, अभी भी हम लोग सीख ही रहे
नहीं
हैं.
नहीं, सीखने का नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, इम्प्लीमेंट का, क्योंकि वी आर नॉट श्योर ना हाउ मेनी टूल एंड एवरीथिंग वी हैव टू लर्न. द वॉल्यूम इज सो हाई.
Off the topic.
Yeah, please.
Redevelopment of a flag. So how to cost is to be set. 2001, before 2001 property is purchased.
Yes.
In 2020 it has to redevelopment and 21 में उसको पोजीशन मिला आज बेचता है क्योंकि within 2022 में मिला
आपको जिस दिन को पोजीशन मिला उस दिन का जो मार्केट वैल्यू है दैट इज योर कॉस्ट बिकॉज टिपिकली आपने जब री इन्वेस्ट किया जो फ्लैट आपका ओरिजिनल था
2 BHK का भी
3 वे तो दैट इज अ री इन्वेस्टमेंट दैट अंडर 54 you got the exemption so जो जिस दिन आपने एक नया फ्लैट मिला उसका जो वैल्यू है दैट शुड बी द कॉस्ट stamp duty value.
Date of acquisition will be the date of possession or the date of agreement.
Agreement with the
Because in this case,
redevelopment.
2021 when I gave the possession, thereafter few months the agreement you will get so and so flat, and after 2 years I got the possession. What will be the
Typically date of possession should be considered because till that time it is a right to receive the property. It is a right to receive property when
Under
you
construction property માં अपना date of possession is the real wrong.
till that time it is a right to receive property. So
मतलब two issues है. One right and another is property.
But then the
Holding period.
considering that 54 we get when we get the new property, the exemption is under section 54 for exchange of the property from old to new. Now the SSC has like multiple residential houses. In that case, how does
That criteria has to be considered case to case basis.
but 54 doesn't restrict you for multiple house. 54F has a restriction. 54 doesn't have restriction.
Residential then 54 है. Then you have only one property.
Then you,
even if the SSC has 3 other houses, then he
No,
still getting-
54 is there is no restriction.
For 54F, only one property should be.
Only thing we need to consider that new property should be hold for a sufficient period. 3 years. If we sell next year,
Yeah, from policy.
reverse working will start.
Otherwise, you will lose that 54 benefit.
Only in tenancy property, because you are claiming 54, there,
So that's only what- that's what I
there-
remember,
there-
but this comes to that-
there is problem. You should have only one property for claiming.
There it is a-
Yes.
So then you are claiming under 54F,
That.
not 54.
Even though it is resident, but tenancy means right, it's not property.
It's not your,
Then it gets taxed when the tenancy right is given up for the PPA. So this ordinary accommodation, it will get taxed, I think at that point the SSC has more than one.
Yes. You will not get benefit. of-
so let's dwell on certain issues which I have compiled. Yeah.
I mean, मैं नाश्ता मंगा लूं? अरे बाहर जाएगा तो 15 मिनट
हाँ, आधा घंटा मिनिमम हाफ एन आवर.
जिसको बाहर जाके आना है वो जाके आएगा. हाँ.
Yeah, please. Andheri is mine. Gauchular West.
પણ એ કંઈક redevelopment માં કીધું, લલ્લુભાઈ કે નહીં?
લલ્લુભાઈ પાર્કમાં ઘણા બધા બિલ્ડિંગ રીડેવલપ થઈ ગયા
અમારે client નું view છે.
અચ્છા ઘણા બધા અમારો એરિયામાં અમારું પહેલું જ થયેલું રીડેવલપ our was the first.
पूरा मुंबई वही हो रहा है अभी तो
रीडेवलप ही हो रहा है पूरा बॉम्बे
सेल नहीं है सही बोल
फिर भी रीडेवलप हो रहा
हमारा टीए हो चुका है, लेकिन वो बना नहीं रहा है क्योंकि
है
सेल कोई इंक्वायरी करने नहीं आता है कि क्या भाव है,
Yeah.
तो उसे होल्ड पे रखा है.
So let's work on these case studies by. Yeah. Yeah. The first issue which I have, we need to discuss is on 87A that I think somebody raised. So this is related to assessment year 24-25. Assessee has filed in new regime tax return. Income is below 7 lakhs. That the income which the return filed is for 5,40,000, including short-term gain of 1,09,000. and claimed 87A rebate. So CPC has disallowed the rebate on short-term gain. She again filed 154, but it was again processed with the demand. So what should be the course of action?
Only appeal, you will get benefit, but for small amount, we will go in appeal.
Yes.
एक्टिविशन में 5-6 गेट क्लियर है मैंने 3-4 गेट में अलाउ किया 2-3 गेट में अलाउ नहीं किया
Yeah, so these have happened for all the CPC has changed their utilities post 5th of July 24. So return filed before 5th of July 24, they have allowed the rebate. So return filed post 5th July 24, they are disallowing the rebate. But when we consider the legal situation, whether what is the legal position that we need to discuss? So whether it is a correct on the part of department to disallow it or not, that is it.
The only thing on the issue, it is not allowed for special, rebate is not allowed for special.
So see, we need to examine 87A. So 87A, there is no bar on not allowing the rebate on special income.
For specialism, no bar.
There is no bar. They have amended the act in last budget. They have added the proviso from 1/4/2026. The proviso is being added that if assessee has a special rate income, then rebate eligible is not eligible on the special rate income. That is what proviso is being added. But for the March 24 and March 25, this proviso is not retrospective. So March 24 and March 25 still issue is open. It should be eligible. So there is a appeals. A lot of appeals are being filed, and one of the appeal decision what even CIT appeal has given in favor of the assessee. I'll just read out what CIT appeal has written. Thus, composite reading of section 87A read with 111A and 112A does not bar the appellant from claiming the rebate under 87A. In view of the above discussion and also on the facts of the appellant, appellant is continued his option to exercise under 115 BAC. AO has added in restricting the rebate under 87A. So in appeal, the CITs are allowing it, but only thing is you have to go for appeal. CTC, the Chamber of Tax Consultant did file a public literacy, the PIL filed by them, but unfortunately High Court said that we cannot give a general decision. So whoever assessee is impacted, they have to file an appeal and take the relief. But they definitely they pass a stricture against the CPC that this sort of amendment, this sort of changes in software is incorrect.
You can also have.
हाँ 5 minutes का break आप ले लो आप खा लो सर.
मैं एक सवाल पूछूं.
हाँ पूछो सर.
अपना फॉर टैक्स रिबेट समझो मेरा नॉर्मल इनकम 5 लाख है और अपना शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन 3 लाख है तो 8 लाख हो गया 7 लाख के ऊपर तो मुझे 5 लाख पे रिबेट मिलेगा कि नहीं क्योंकि नॉर्मली दे आर नॉट गिविंग शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल
नहीं मिलेगा तो 5 लाख तो मिलेगा
नहीं 7 लाख के ऊपर हो जाता है ना.
GTI बढ़ गया ना सर. GTI बढ़ गया ना.
मतलब वो दोनों बाजू से मारा है उस पे भी नहीं दे रहे हैं और टोटल में भी नहीं दे रहे हैं दोनों बाजू से मारा है.
सेपरेट दिन में
वो GTI 7 के ऊपर है वो पैट हो रहा है इसीलिए डबल इम्पैक्ट हो रहा है.
हाँ डबल इम्पैक्ट दोनों बाजू से मारा वैसे भी नहीं देगा टोटल में भी नहीं देंगे. हाँ
ये अलाउ किया
कैसे
5 लाख नॉर्मल, आप जो केस बोले उसी केस में
हाँ।
5 लाख वो रिबेट में निकाला
हाँ
और बाकी के जो शॉर्ट टर्म है उसमें टैक्स लगाया।
Even though your total
rebate-
income is
rebate
like
दिया।
मोर देन 7 lakhs।
मे बी सर, हाउ यू आर पुटिंग योर इंफॉर्मेशन, हो सकता है मेरे हिसाब से GTI 7 के ऊपर गया, इसलिए उसने सबको कंबाइन कर दिया एंड रिबेट को निकाल
मेरा
दिया।
टैक्स भरा था, मेरे को रिफंड आया, इसलिए मेरे को इंट्रोस्पेक्ट किया, मेरे क्यों रिफंड आया, तो मालूम पड़ा कि वो रिबेट किया उसने 5 लाख, यानी जो नॉर्मल इनकम था उसका रिबेट किया, शॉर्ट टर्म को उसने नॉर्मल टैक्स लगा। मैंने पहले उसको इनकी 7 लाख से ऊपर हो गया था टैक्स,
चलो भाई, ये 24-25 है ना, वो तो अपना प्रॉब्लमेटिक है, देते हैं नहीं
केवल
देते हैं,
24-25 के
लेकिन
बात-
व्हाट अबाउट दिस करंट ईयर अपना
जो
12 lakhs
income
में,
है वो
हाँ वो 12 lakhs में वहां पे बड़ा इश्यू है, क्योंकि उन्होंने क्लियर कट बोल दिया है कि स्पेशल इनकम नो रिबेट।
No rebate. Now it is very clear.
अभी उसमें 10 लाख है और 3 लाख है, तो क्या वो तो अभी यूटिलिटी डालेंगे तो मालूम पड़ेगा, क्योंकि 24-25 में तो प्रॉब्लम ही है, मिला नहीं मिला कोई
नहीं सर, रिफंड आया एक केस में, इसलिए मैं डाउट क्यों आया रिफंड।
तो मतलब तुझे भी लग रहा था कि GTI ज्यादा है तो नहीं आना चाहिए।
हाँ नहीं आना चाहिए,
That is the logic.
टैक्स भरा हमने, पर वो रिफंड आया अभी, इसलिए बोले क्यों रिफंड आया, हमने तो ऐसे
तभी
ही भरा है तो रिफंड कैसे आ गया।
फॉलो कर, 154 में नया डाले, बोल ना मिल गया अभी,
चुपचाप बैठ जाना है।
खा ले, वो खुद 154 कर दिया बाद में। अरे दीपक, त्यांना सांग ना पाणी पाणी द्यायला सांग.
And also
पाणी
PMS income. So there,
हं?
one thing is
आप बोलोगे तो
PMS income
देंगे?
है, the portfolio manager
अलग से
charges
लाना
certain
पड़ता है।
fees.
अरे हर एक को जाना पड़ेगा।
Is there a way to claim that against some
Yeah.
other income which is being paid out by the fund?
See, we'll come to that case study I have taken. We'll
And in case
Go to
of
that.
business trust also, the income is all pass-through income, and now if the assessee has spent its borrowed money and is earning interest from REITs or from InvITs, and he's also paying on the other hand, he has a cost of borrowing those funds. So there's nothing stopping him from the act from claiming that expense against that, but the utility does not support it. There is nowhere I can claim that.
It is under 58, other source 57.
Yes, but the other source, but
So-
pass-through coming from a REIT and an InvIT. given
What is
by a-
pass through? I didn't get.
Pass-through income of.
it is a trust
115,
basically.
115.
115.
115.
UA,
115
UA.
But you have to take that as per 64C, some certificate they give. Income is to be taken as per 64C because that is being reported by them.
I report as the 64, even now SSC at his end, he has borrowed money to invest in these InvITs and REITs. So he has an interest cost which is directly associated. with-
Logically,
It should be allowed. It
But
should be
there is
allowed.
no provisions on the utility, we are not able to claim any expenses.
But you are reporting the income under other sources.
So when the pass-through income comes, it gets added towards the end in the other sources schedule. So there is no way we are able to claim that expense under 57 also. Under the-
open है ना glass, हाँ फिरने दे।
57 mein you can put the expenditure against the income, no, because that other sources it will be a income from all the various sources. Your bank interest, your dividend, your pass through income. Then there is at last tab you can claim the expenditure.
There is a tab, there is a provision also, there is a section also. I think 58 only. No?
58.
But if that is computing another source loss and then the pass-through income is adding back, I'll have to check again.
You have loss in other income, other
No,
source.
other sources, now by claiming this expenditure, if I need the pass-through income, then it will be a loss. When the pass-through income is added, then it will become a positive number. Total of other sources.
Oh, fine, fine,
But pass
fine.
through income will be first, then all it will cover part of all other sources income. So
There was an issue last year when filing the returns. I'm not able to place exactly what it was, but it should be able.
You-
absolutely it should be allowed.
You mention your expenses under section 57, 58. 57 में आपका जितना भी income है डाल दो। अगर उसमें अगर आपको लॉस आ रहा है, ये उसमें ऐड हो जाएगा। फिर आपका पास थ्रू इनकम उसमें ऐड हो जाता है, वो सेटअप हो जाएगा। होना चाहिए आइडियल। We had one session here on TDS, 2 days session. 6 sessions लिया था हम लोग ने सिर्फ TDS पे. It was so wonderful, sir. निश areas पे हम लोग ने बात किया था, even live demonstration, how to correct your TDS returns, even excess pay किया है, 1% की जगह पर 10% pay किया है. So how to claim refund. So now this year in direct tax, we are completely addressing the practical issues. अभी क्या है कि direct tax bill, direct tax code जब तक इनैक्ट होता है तब तक हमारे पास टाइम है. तो हम लोग ने बेसिक्स पे जा रहे हैं. On 30th May, 30th और 31st May, we are taking session on ITRs. We are touching basics. जैसा आज हम लोग कर रहे हैं. बहुत सारी चीजें हम लोग को ओवरलुक हो गई है या फिर कब उसमें अमेंडमेंट हो गया पता ही नहीं चला. तो ये हम लोग वापस से दिस ईयर इज लर्निंग वाला रखा है हम लोग ने फोटो. तो बेसिक वाला जब सेमिनार्स होगा ना प्लीज का टीडीएस का हाँ वो ओरिएंटेशन आउटरीच
यहाँ पे हेवी स्टोन्स हाँ वो बहुत जीएसटी क्या क्या. अच्छा डायरेक्ट टैक्स कोड एप्लीकेबल फ्रॉम 1426 ना मतलब 26 27 ऐसा
नेक्स्ट ईयर. अभी तो अपना जो फाइनेंस बिल हो गया वही है. And our direct DTRC, the signature event is there in June. Please enroll. आप तो अटेंड करते ही हो सर. आप तो फैकल्टी रहते हैं सर. So national faculties are there. 11 and 12 June, 20th and 21st June. 4 days, every day 2 sessions. 8 sessions are there at Yogi Sabhagrah. वो एक सिग्नेचर इवेंट होता है सर. अपना जो सब रीजनल होता है, रीजनल होता है ना, वैसा DTRC होता है. सो प्लीज अटेंड. बाय जून ये पूरा डस्ट सेटल हो जाएगा आई थिंक, ये डायरेक्ट टैक्स कोड का. तो उसके ऊपर और इनॉग्रल सेशन मेरे अपना गिरीश सर आ रहे हैं. गिरीश आहूजा सर आ रहे हैं.
सर मैं क्या बोलता हूँ स्टडी ग्रुप के लिए अपना योगी सभा क्योंकि वो बोरीवली वहां से आना है ये और अभी जाने के टाइम तो
सर स्टडी ग्रुप में ना 15 to 25 का अटेंडेंस होता है सर. वो चीज हम लोग बाहर आउटसोर्स कर.
योगी सभा में आउटसोर्स है
तो अपना नहीं है सर. द चार्जेस
ये तो सर 500 प्लस लोग रहते हैं ना.
बड़ा है. एंड व्हाटएवर वी आर चार्जिंग फॉर दिस थिंग ना, नाश्ते का खर्चा हम लोग ले रहे हैं और कुछ नहीं ले रहे हैं. फैकल्टीज फ्री में आ रहे हैं. भैया ले लेंगे. अच्छा जगह ही नहीं. चलो आराम से टिश्यूज लेके आना भैया.
The second case study I have taken is on buyback of shares. So Mr. Kailas is holding 2000 equity shares of listed entity ABC. He purchased in 21 for 500 per share. Company announced the buyback on 15th of March 25 for 2000 per share. So what will be his tax liability?
टैक्स फ्री ना बायबैक
Company pays tax.
कंपनी के
But now onwards, I think I heard like it will be now onward, it will be passed on to the
And
RCC.
again same query, he has also taken buyback in January 24. That time it was company paid him 1500 per share. So for both the year, what will be the tax liability?
January 24 is an exempt.
Why it is exempt? Why it is taxable? If it is taxable, why it is taxable? And
Exempt, it is taxable in the hands of the company. It was taxable in the hands
see,
of company.
buyback is covered under 115 QA. 115 QA is introduced in 2013 initially. So they shifted the tax liability on company. So under buyback, and then again 2019 they added listed entity also. So on buyback, company pays the tax. That was the law. But they amended that section from last year. So from September 24 onwards, from 1st October 2024, now tax liabilities not on the company. The shareholder who receives the share money on buyback, it is considered as a deemed dividend under 222F. So for him, it is a 100% income as a dividend for the shareholder. And the holding which he is having, that for the buyback, you have to consider that consideration received is nil. So he'll have a loss based on his holding period. It is a long term or short term. That will be his loss in under capital gain. But the buyback amount which he receives will be considered as a dividend income for the year. But this for the earlier year transaction prior to 30th September 24 is all exempt because company pays the tax and shareholder whatever amount is received under 1034A, it is exempt in the hand of shareholder.
So
This is allowed to be carried forward, right?
Loss, yeah, if you have other long term, yeah, short term, whatever loss is there, if it is to be, it can be adjusted against that. And if there is no loss or profit, there is no profit during the year, you can carry forward. So in buyback again, the one more issue which arises is because that 56 to 10, that is also, but that is again now it's a more theoretical. Yeah. Third case study I have taken is a demerger of a company. The shares received on demerger. So Reliance says on record date of July 20, 2023, demerged Reliance into Jio Financial and Reliance 1:1. So all the Reliance shareholder received the Jio Financial shares. So Mr. Kailath is holding 1,000 shares at the rate of 3,000 from 1st January, purchased in January 22. The company has given the cost allocation ratio of typically 95:5 because in always demerger, the company gives the allocation ratio that this is the cost of new shares and old shares. So 95:5 is a allocation ratio. Accordingly, he sold his shares of new Jio Financial shares in December 23. He received that Jio Financial shares on July 20, 2023. Record date is July 23. So July 23, he got the shares and he sold it in December 23. So what will be this capital gain, whether it will be long term or short term? Why it is long term? Long term, why it is long term? Exactly.
no, not sir, but period of holding of origin.
So that holding definition of short term, that 242 subsection G covers this sort of a situation, which specifically covers if shares are in case of a demerger. So original shares that your holding period will be counted from the date on which you are holding the original shares. So here his holding period will be counted from Reliance date. So that is a January 22. and accordingly it will be more than 1 year and it will be a long term. Even if he has sold within 6 months of new shares which he has received.
वो 2022 का डेट डालना चाहिए परचेस.
Yes, purchase date you have to be careful. If you write this date,
तो डीमैट में आ गया आज की तारीख में.
हाँ.
But we have to put the right date. Working अपने को
DMAT.
पर्सनली करना.
आज की तारीख आएगा.
हाँ. ये तो
Yes.
वो शेयर ही ओरिजिनेट हुआ आज.
आज.
उसका एक्विजिशन पहले हो ही नहीं सकता. 2022 में शेयर का नामो निशान नहीं था. We need to consider कि भाई इसने कब लिया था.
The next case study I have taken is on set off of long-term capital gains against the short-term loss on sale of bonus shares. The bonus stripping. Bonus stripping is a very it's a very prevalent term when typically when company declares the bonus. What happens if companies say Reliance says shares was traded at 3,000. They declared the bonus 1:1. So post bonus, the share value will become half typically. So the person who has received the bonus and he sell the bonus original shares and keep the bonus with him because bonus cost is 0. That is what the law is. You have to count the and date of allotment is the date on which you receive the bonus share. It is that from that your period of holding will count and your cost will be nil. That is what the law is. So when you hold the bonus and sell the original, then there will be a loss typically because the 3,000 share now it is traded at 1,500. So even if I have purchased 15 days back and I got the bonus, I sold the original shares, then I'll end up with 1,500 as a loss in book. But it is not a loss because bonus shares I am still holding. But on paper there is a loss. So that is what the case study is.
Colorable device.
Right? इसमें period mention क्यों?
Pardon. So let's go through this case. Here it is a case of 2015-16 assessment 2015-16. So ABC Private Limited is the private unlisted shares on which Mr. R has 16 crore profit. And during the year he purchased the listed shares and bonus was declared 1:2. For one share, 2 shares were given as a bonus for the listed shares. He typically purchased the shares just 10 days before the bonus is announced and post declaration of bonus within 15 days exited with the original shares. So she has a 10 crore loss on that original shares which is sold. And she adjusted that 16 crore profit against this 10 crore loss. So during the assessment, assessing officer took a objection that this is just a colorable device to at least make not to pay the tax, and accordingly he disallowed the short-term loss which is incurred. So what should be the view of everybody, whether it is a correct, incorrect?
There's some period when in this structure, if you tell them it is a bonus stripping, it will be levied and will be attract. Otherwise, it will not attract.
So these are called typically anti-avoidance provisions. So anti-avoidance provision is section 94. So 94(8) subsection 8 up to earlier period, it was not covering this listed security. 94(8) was covering only listed units of mutual fund. The shares, equity shares are covered from April 23. Prior to April 23, bonus stripping was not in 94.8 was not prohibiting the listed shares. It was prohibiting only units of the listed units of mutual fund. So there are lots of judgment which are in favor of the assessee, which says that assessee is rightful to minimize his tax liability within the framework of law. Law cannot insist me to pay more tax. If I can within framework of law, yes, whether transaction is genuine, assessing officer need to verify whether transaction is genuine or not. If it is a fake transaction or bogus transaction of shares,
If law permits me, then I can do
yes. So
tax plan.
tax planning is not illegal. Only thing is genuineness of the transaction is to be seen. If transaction is not genuine, then only he can disallow it.
As from the assessee's point of view, the genuineness lies to be proved by the assessee.
Assessee, but genuineness, see how you prove the genuineness. See, if I have purchased the shares through stock exchange, shares has come in my demat account. Company is a listed entity where I don't have any say. Coffee without sugar. Where I do not have any say. See, if Reliance has declared the bonus, I do not have any say in Reliance. So, if transactions are through stock exchange, checks are being paid to the broker, STT is paid. So there is no wrongdoing on the part of assessing. But this sort of a transaction was 94.8 now it is being plugged from April 23 onwards. Bonus stripping is plugged. So prior to April 23, yes, previous people were doing right, left, center. A lot of people have availed it. There is a famous judgment of that Cyrus Poonawalla, which Bombay High Court has confirmed, where stake involved was some phenomenal crores. But still court said that nothing doing, it is a within framework of law and you cannot deny the benefit.
Sir,
94, what exactly is the provision?
Section 94(8).
94 bracket में.
sir, I have a question. Similarly, there is a provision for dividend stripping.
Yeah, dividend stripping was there previously when dividend was exempt. But now anyway, dividend is taxable.
My question, whether that provision still held value?
Yeah, still it is there on still it is on the statute. Dividend stripping is there, but now it doesn't have any relevance because dividend anyway is taxable. No?
Similarly, 14A.
14A is still on the statute. Yeah,
Well,
still on the
income being generated is now taxable. There is no exempt income.
But apart from dividend, there can be other exempt income also. So Section 10 has a lot of host of exempt income provision. 14 is still on the statute. But in day-to-day practice, we do not come across 14A applicability. So subsequent is also I have taken on bonus stripping, but this case is post 23 where bonus stripping is covered. So in a typical bonus stripping post 23, how it works? The provision says if I am holding a equity shares on which bonus is declared and I sell the original shares and there is a loss, so then loss is to be the date they have given is 3 months prior to the record date. If I have purchased within 3 months prior to record date, then only I am covered. And I have sold within 9 months after receipt of the bonus share. So that 12-month period is covered in bonus stripping 94.8. So if I have received the shares, that is what I have covered in this second case study. If bonus shares are received within 3 months of record date, I have purchased within 3 months of record date. Here in this case, we have taken the bonus is issued on 28th of October 24. So 3 months prior, and the purchase is first purchase is 1st June 24. That is not within 3 months period, but second purchase is within 3 months period of record date. That is 30th August. So these 1,000 shares will be covered in bonus tripping. So next wala. So bonus is allotted on 8/11, and he has sold these bonus these original shares of holdings. So 1:1 bonus is given. He was holding 2,000 shares. He has got the 2,000 as bonus. So he sold the original shares of original 2,000 shares he sold. So original 2,000 shares which he sold, the first lot of 1,000, as the purchases are not within 3 months of record date, it is prior to 3 months of record date, it will not be covered by 94(8). On that, whatever loss he has incurred is allowable. But second lot, which is purchased on 30th of August, and he is the bonus is declared on 8/11, that is within 3 months of record date, and he has sold within 9 months of the receipt of bonus. So these loss which he has incurred 16 lakhs will not be allowed. So what will happen to this 16 lakhs? This 16 lakhs will become the cost of the bonus which he is holding. So that is what the provision is. So if he sells a part of the shares, then the cost of the holding of that bonus will become the holding. This loss will become his cost of the holding, and then accordingly, whenever he sells that shares, he'll get the cost.
कब बेचा कहाँ डिटेल देता है
I was thinking that only.
Yeah.
आरसीसी को
But-
खुद को पता नहीं है,
हाँ,
ये कैसे आ रहे? अच्छा कर भी लिया तो नेक्स्ट टाइम ये करने के बाद जब मेरा आरसीसी आपके पास जाएगा, ये बैकग्राउंड स्टोरी आपको पता ही नहीं है. How you can?
क्लाइंट लोग अभी ओ ये इसमें सब डिटेल आता है ना, आप हमसे क्यों मांगते हो? क्या आंसर दो बोलो?
मैं उनसे डिटेल
ब्रोकर का वो स्टेटमेंट भी नहीं दे रहे. अरे एक फिगर तो आता है, हमारा काम इजी हो जाता है. वो भी है तो सब आ जाते हैं, नहीं है इसमें ले लो.
But sir, इस सब केस में the client, HNI clients who has a high stake, they know all these things. They will be because they are being advised by so many people, so they will know कि भाई ये इसके ऊपर टैक्स नहीं लगेगा.
Accounting.
हाँ.
Preparing the accounts.
They will have full-fledged team.
quantity wise.
They will have full-fledged team.
Normal salary
Yeah.
people they don't.
Yeah, that's true. But that is where we can add value. If at all client. So as we were discussing that 94(8), I have just summarized.
This loss will be not allowed. Then will be how?
The loss will become the cost of the bonus which you are holding, because bonus cost as per law is 0. So that will become the cost of the holding. Yes,
Otherwise, what we were thinking, वो जो loss है, it will be carried forward. Instead of getting carried forward, it will be capitalized as a
it
bonus.
will be a cost. It will be a cost.
In the section, actually, it is not very clearly mentioned, the cost of acquisition of this.
No, it is very clear. It is very clear. See, if you want, I can
Then I'm just
just for you.
asking, because even the other case which I asked, you, the Tata Motors,
Ah.
there the deemed dividend is also now considered as the cost of acquisition. That is what they
But
written
that
in the
is
arrangement.
there in the,
They've written in the arrangement. Deemed
there's
dividend.
a section for, the same thing happens in case of liquidation of company.
Okay.
Then
જે આગળની સ્લાઇડ આમાં જે છે ને મેઇન ઇન્ટેન્શન એટ ધ ટાઈમ ઓફ એક્વિઝિશન. હવે ડિલિવરી વિથ ડિલિવરી, સો બ્રોકર સ્ટેટમેન્ટ ઓલવેઝ બી શોર્ટ ટર્મ લોંગ ટર્મ. So how I prove that when at the time of purchasing, my intention is to do the business?
So intention you have to gather from
How I
where.
prove? Because
See.
statements shows short term, long term.
Understood. But intention of the assessee you have to gather from various factors.
Because
He's a
doing
he's a
only
he's
sales,
only
F&O,
investor.
Intraday,
Uh,
short term, long term, and business.
yeah.
So he is earning short term, long term. But to avoid that, you want to do show as business for F&O because in F&O it is loss. So both will
F&O is a
earn.
business. Yeah.
So what to do?
So
How you prove?
see all this controversy of characterization of income, whether it is a business income or capital gain. Up to 2016, there was a lot of controversy, because I think invariably we out of 10 cases where we have a capital gain, 8 cases we used to have this sort of a queries where there is a voluminous transaction. Department used to take a stand, no, it is a business, capital gain is to be disallowed. Post 2016, there is a specific circular where they have given that whatever treatment assessee has taken is to be accepted.
Acha, is to be, even though broker has given short term, long term because delivery based.
So there is a specific circular department has given, circular number 6 of 2016.
6 of
2016. So where there was given specific that also I have covered up in the last, but that they have given specific instruction. Whatever treatment assessee has taken, if assessee has taken as a stock in trade, department will consider as a stock in trade. If assessee has taken as a long term, they will not treat it as a short term. So based on that, a lot of cases were over now. Because the only thing they have given exception is if it is a fake capital gain, there is already investigation going on.
Earlier
Penny stock, yeah. So all that issues are not covered in that circular, but otherwise.
According best solution is you take a separate account, 2 accounts, one for short term, long term, and one for this. So this is
No, even department in circular itself, department has confirmed that fact. It is impossible for anybody to clarify the intention, to justify the intention. You cannot justify that my intention is for investment or it is for business. So multiple, yes.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I was wondering that if I show so many transactions, then definitely it will be called up for scrutiny or it may be treated as business income. But nothing of the sort is happening.
Yeah. So now department is not disputing that so long as transactions are genuine. So transactions are not genuine, yes, then there can be an issue.
AIS then again return that, so the AIS capital gains and they are shown under capital gains, and whereas we are offering certain part of the capital gains as business income. So has anyone faced the issue there?
So what we need to mention about it in a clarification, because they provide us the tab to clarify your stand.
Assessee is free to show the assets held as investment as stocking. Like conversion is okay.
Yeah, conversion is okay, but conversion there is a specific rule how to treat in tax that 45 deals with that sort of a situation. If you convert your stock in trade to capital asset, so the FMV is to be seen on the tax is on date on which you sell. There's a host of rules, but yes, you can do it. You can do it. Next. Bombay High Court judgment. Cyrus Poonawalla. Adar Poonawalla, Cyrus Poonawalla, that is a Bombay High Court judgment. This case study is based on ESOP. Typically, ESOP is granted to the assessee and for the 4 lakh. And as market prices has gone down, company gave 1 lakh as a compensation to the employee. So whether that receipt is considered as a capital gain, capital receipt or a income of the assessee. So in case of a ESOP, typically the journey is company grants the ESOP. On granting date, there is no tax liability. On after certain period, say ESOP is granted on year 1, it is vested on year 3. So ESOP is typically to retain the assessee for longer period with the company. So from granting date to vesting date, there is always a lag of 3 or 4 year period. So from vesting period, he can avail it. Whenever he wants to, within the window which is given, he can avail the ESOP. So on that is exercise. On exercise of the option, there will be a tax implication. So when he exercised the option of ESOP, whatever is the fair market value of the ESOP and grant price, difference is considered as is a perquisite, and accordingly tax is to be paid as a salary income. Whenever he sells that ESOP which he has received, the cost will be FMV at which he has already paid the tax, because already on FMV he has paid the tax. So FMV will be considered as a cost while calculation of his ESOP. So that is how it ESOP normally works out. So the query which we have taken is here it is being granted and it is being vested, but he has not exercised it. Before exercising, the price has gone down, company gave him compensation. So that receipt of that fund, whether it will be a capital receipt, whether it will be a salary income, income from other sources, how it is to be treated. That is the query. Yeah, that is what I think. That is a correct decision. Because assessee treated it as a capital receipt, then court said nothing doing. It is a part of salary compensation. It cannot be a capital receipt. And accordingly, company has to deduct TDS also on that.
The same thing nowadays, companies having their parent company in USA or abroad.
Yeah.
They also do a similar thing. So the process would be same or
same. Typically, the case which I have referred is a similar case where Indian employee has got from Singapore holding company. The amount was given by Singapore holding company when it was restructured in Singapore. So they thought it that whatever is amount due to the existing employee, they gave the compensation for the vesting the ESOP.
International context, you cannot sell it other than you sell back to the company directly, because you cannot sell in the open market over there. You rather pay, the company pays you for that amount. So will that again same rationale be applied here? Because
you're talking about the transfer of share.
So ESOP, like they call it.
Yeah, ESOP. He is being granted ESOP where he has exercised the ESOP. You are saying he has exercised the ESOP. The ESOP, the shares are with him. Then he sells the shares typically to company or somebody.
Because the shares are of the parent company in USA or any other.
Yeah.
So he is not going to sell over.
Yeah.
He sells it to the parent company.
But for individual, it is a transfer of share. So for him, is based on his holding period, it will be a long-term or short-term capital gain that he has to report. So typically, that all US company does like that. That they themselves have an arrangement with a broking firm. So you receive the shares, then they themselves arrange for selling of the shares. So end of the day, employee just get the fund in their accounts. But that is typically considered as a short-term gain only.
In this case, that means
relation, the transaction taking between employer and employee, that exists, then it should be legal salary.
Salary.
That
See,
needs to be.
the case study which we have taken is case where shares are not being exercised. He got the compensation prior to it. Before he exercised the stock option, the prices has gone down, so they thought it fit to give the compensation to the employee.
Suppose there's an employee based outside of India. He's a resident, but RNO. So if he is getting salary in the form of virtual digital asset, so whatever will be the value of that virtual digital asset on the date of receipt will be his salary income. Again, when he
Salary is receiving as a virtual digital asset in form of virtual digital. Okay.
So again, when he sells those virtual digital assets, it will be treated as capital gains. So the same.
Virtual digital asset, I think it's not, it is to be, the taxation is separate by itself. On virtual digital asset, it is a flat 30% tax. So irrespective of holding and all that, it is a 30% tax.
It will come under income from other sources, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is not capital, sir.
It
is not considered under capital.
It is not considered.
For calculation.
Income from others.
It is separate treatment is for the virtual digital. No.
Digital assets are not covered.
इसमें TDS भी है और TDS capital assets पे नहीं होता.
Now coming to some transfer of unlisted shares, because in a listed shares, typically the situation is very clear, 112 and all that. In case of unlisted shares, how to calculate the capital gain? Here, in case X Private Limited has sold the shares of Z Private Limited for 1 lakh, which they purchased in 80,000. In 20 and 24 they sold. So there is it's a long-term shares which they were holding. They sold it for 1 lakh. The buyer has purchased for 1 lakh, but the 11 UA valuation is 1,50,000. So in unlisted shares, the transaction has to be, when you do the transaction has to be at the fair market value. And to determine the fair market value, the valuation rule is governed by 11 UA. So 11 UA valuation is say 1,50,000. They sold it for 1 lakh. So what will be the tax implication on both the company, buyer and seller?
56 to 7. 56 to 7.
So there are two sections which comes into play. For the seller, it is 50 CA, and for the buyer, it is 56 to 10. So 50 CA provision says that tax between FMV and consideration which is received for unquoted shares is considered as his income. So irrespective of, he has seen our example, he has actually received 1 lakh. But his FMV is 1,50,000. So capital gain will be calculated as if 1,50,000 he has received and against the cost of 80,000. That will be his calculation.
Like 50 C, like
50 C.
in case of
50, yeah.
In case of buyback, can buyback be done at face value?
Buyback typically in case of a listed entity.
Private company.
Private company, see, it is a valuation rule that will determine.
Monday ko aayenge.
Yeah.
Because when we buy back these shares, the shares get cancelled. So it does not fall in the definition of property.
Absolutely. So what you say is absolutely correct. See, in case of a buyback, typically there is a one case law called Vora Financial, that is a case law on Mumbai Tribunal judgment, which says that when company buybacks, company doesn't get anything because shares are typically cancelled. It is not transferred in their name. So 56(2)(10) has no application because 56(2)(10) will come into picture when I receive some property. So here company doesn't receive property. So 56(2)(10) is not applicable in buyback. That is what is a specific judgment.
So, in this case, the preference shares getting converted to equity shares. So the preference shares have been issued at a cost lower than what the valuation of equity shares should be. So at the time of conversion into equity,
That is excluded. That is excluded in the definition of transfer. So when a preference is converted to equity, it is not a transfer. Only thing is your cost of preference share will become cost of equity share.
So under 56(2)(10), if the preference, let's say everything is happening within the same financial year, first the preference share has been issued and then it's been converted into equity share during the same year, or I mean in the recent past. And the preference share has been valued at a substantially lower amount than the equity share. Valuation which is done under 11UA. So as a shareholder, when he's giving up the preference share for an equity share
conversion,
he's receiving shares of an unlisted company at a value which is much lower than what the value should be.
So you're talking from the shareholder point of view? 56(2)(10). So here, what he has received. See, he was holding preference shares. Against preference shares, he has received the equity shares. So where is a gap, because he was holding say 100 rupees preference shares. So his 100 rupees remains 100 rupees. Equity, he is against preference shares. The conversion is in equity shares. So when it is converted, there is no transfer. There is no transfer. So capital gain doesn't come into picture. Capital gain doesn't come into. 56(2)(10) will come into picture if at all. No, if there is an inadequate
consideration is there. There is no consideration.
There is no inadequate consideration, because my consideration is what I was holding. That is the consideration.
Historical cost is your holding cost.
You are saying she has the cost less number of equity. Lesser than that, maybe 80.
ट्रांसफर की definition में ही नहीं है ना?
नहीं है.
क्या question है?
It is normal routine fair for companies.
Yeah. So in that case, coming to our issue, when there is a transfer of unlisted equity, if it is for inadequate consideration, it is lower than FMV, then both buyer and seller both will end up paying tax in 50 CA or 56(2)(10).
50 CA, what this?
Yeah.
43 CA.
So this is just, I made the work like.
Still, I didn't get the valuation point. You were talking that
See, the issue which you are referring, 56(2)(10), in case of a right share, bonus share, or convertible instrument. So in case of 56(2)(10), when any person receives the property without consideration or inadequate consideration, whether right issue or bonus issue or conversion will cover. So there are specific Mumbai Tribunal judgment in case of Sudhir Menon. The bonus shares is a mere capitalization, and it doesn't give rise to new property. Or right issue is a proportionate issue and allotment to all shareholders. So it doesn't give any inadequate consideration. It doesn't give a rise to new asset, or conversion of CCD or preference shares to the equity shares doesn't give any inadequate consideration. So this is Sirin by Koka is some our school day, college day judgment of Supreme Court judgment.
Can companies now issue shares that premium without having that the angel tax has been removed now? So
Angel tax is not there, yes.
but for
Angel.
other not startups, other companies also earlier please I can't recollect which subsection it was.
So you mean to say whether now companies can issue shares at premium?
If they don't have that kind of book value and they're issuing shares at premium, that was.
That is restricted, no, sir. Without the book
tax-free.
value support, without reserve support,
I say no to being. I think it is for startups itself.
so they can issue at premium. It is legally permitted.
So in that case, it gets converted after some certain period of time.
Coupons.
For now, it will be shown under your shareholders' funds, but not under your equity. Shareholder has the option to get it converted to equity after certain period.
And coming more from a income tax point of view, like.
It is not marketable security, right? It is not marketable security. That then trading will not permitted here.
The receipt of.
It will be like unlisted share only. It is not shares also.
Company was taxed under section
56.
but now that has been removed.
They have removed angel taxation. That is a fact.
So now companies can issue shares at a premium without being taxed on the.
That is what is understanding as of.
But
that needs to be rechecked again. But yes, what you say is yes, prima facie angel tax is not there and there is no other provision which restricts.
But you are calling that instrument as a shares. She's calling that instrument as not shares, right?
Yes,
That is
these are
a-
not shares.
Ha.
These
Regular.
are not shares. These will get converted into shares.
The share suspense kind of a thing they will give it.
Yes.
This is like a pledge of private equity. Because they have been given that ये आपके पास रहेगा future में आप उसको liquid कर लो. Yours and hers cases are different.
Normal that
हाँ.
taking on.
We have half an hour. We can extend it by 20 minutes.
So I think I am about to over like another 2 case studies. So reduction of share capital.
हाँ? अरे दीपक सांग ना AC चा कंट्रोल करायला सांग ना. अरे दादा
यार तुम्हारा WhatsApp PPT
वो है ना A1
सर नहीं पैसे सर आपसे
ग्रुप में अपने स्टडी ग्रुप में मैं ओनली थिंग दैट दीज आर द केस स्टडीज उसका सॉल्यूशन सर ने नहीं डाला जो इनिशियल लेवल का था पार्ट था दैट वाज पे अपने को लगना पड़ेगा.
So next case study is a reduction of share capital. Typically, companies who has a very huge losses sitting in the balance sheet for restructuring and for various corporate reasons, they go for the reduction of share capital with a Bombay with High Court or now with NCLT approval. They reduce the share capital. So in a reduction of share capital, typically as per the scheme, the capital is reduced, but shareholders holding doesn't change. So previously I was a 99% shareholder, I still remain 99% shareholder. My control and management doesn't change on the company. So in that case, company was reduced the share capital from 500 crore to 50 lakhs. So they were 99% shareholder previously, they are 99% shareholder today also. So what will happen to that reduction of share capital? Whether that will be allowed as a capital loss or not? Whether this amount to transfer, whether so that is the issue. That just give your views. What should be the
capital loss? No.
So we have to examine whether it is a transfer first of all. So when capital gain or loss will come into picture, first is whether capital asset, whether it is a transfer, then it is a capital loss or gain. So whether it is a transfer.
Extinguishment of
So this is just like buyback, no? This is just like buyback. Reduction in capital is nothing but buyback.
extinguish over shares.
Shares are getting extinguished.
Hmm.
Say, or I am relinquishing my rights on that shares. But yes, as a percentage of shares, I was at 99% previously. I am 99% today also. My control and management doesn't change, and that is what department says, that even after reduction of capital, number of shareholder पहले भी 3 था, अभी भी 3 है. You are 99% holder. You are today also 99% holder. So where is the loss? So whether that loss is to be allowed or not to be allowed, or how to treat that loss in tax purpose.
After you.
So there is a specific judgment of Supreme Court in Jupiter Capital, and previously also Kartikeya Sarabhai judgment. But Jupiter is a recent judgment of 2025, where court has very in detail, they have analyzed this situation and came to the conclusion that it is a extinguishment of right on my shares, and number of shares are reduced. And extinguishment is falls into a transfer definition, because transfer covers sale, relinquishment, extinguishment, everything. So the loss is to be allowed.
And
Loss is to be allowed.
Exits in company close. There is no capital. Still I have shares, I have invested 1 lakh. Is it loss or we have to forget it?
You are saying voluntary winding up.
Winding up.
Winding up will be whether it is a transfer.
It is not transfer.
It is not a
but I have a share which is lost, so I will close the company.
Section 46. If the shareholders getting something in return, then
Winding up may nothing. Loss, capital amount is some accumulated loss. So company will zero.
get a lot.
But the
then
shareholders.
it should be allowed. According to me, it should be allowed, because it is. See, my
Just like this,
shares which I am holding is my capital asset. My capital asset is extinguished. It is like a reduction of capital. It is extinguishment.
Same situation.
It is extinguishment of my capital.
Same situation.
There
Okay, allowed.
flexibility under section 44 liquidation of company. So it gets covered there. In
Which
case of
section?
liquidation, I think it is 46 if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
In case of liquidation of a company, in the hands of shareholders, if the company is distributing any assets,
Then it will be a deemed dividend. That is under 222. If company is giving anything after liquidation, it is a dividend.
and over and above that, it's capital gains. To the extent the company has free reserves,
Yeah.
it is dividend.
But see, only question is, what if I'm not getting anything out of my asset and the company is wound up in voluntary winding up.
Just like this.
Voluntary winding up,
Shares, same.
reduction of capital. So it should be allowed. Should be allowed.
था पहले अभी इवेंट में तो भी शेयर है,
हाँ.
तो ना तो इसका लॉस बुक कर पाते हैं ना
Then there is no transfer, ना sir. Shares तो है आपके पास. आपके पास shares है तो it is not sell. What you can do is, internally there are some broker who wants to buy the shares at minimal amount. You can transfer them and book the loss.
During the year profit, then you do this plan.
Unlisted share purchase करने वाले भी लोग हैं.
बहुत बड़ा
जो
market है।
delisted shares.
बहुत बड़ा मार्केट है।
Yeah,
खाली FTT
delisted
नहीं है।
shares लेने वाले भी बहुत लोग हैं.
बहुत बड़ा मार्केट है वो भी।
बहुत बड़ा मार्केट है.
अभी तो स्विगी का बहुत चल रहा था.
हाँ, delisted, that is unlisted share, but delisted shares purchase करने वाले भी लोग हैं. There are specific people who buy delisted shares.
In this reduction of share capital, there will always be a capital loss, correct?
Yeah.
So if we have a scenario where we have like impairment of loss investment in subsidiary, that is also capital loss.
No. How impairment? Impairment is an accounting entry was.
Correct.
Impairment is not an actual transfer. There is accounting entry. What we do is an accounting estimate.
It is not allowed as an expense.
It will not
It is
be
a
allowed.
capital in nature.
No, it will not be allowed according to me because it is not an actual loss.
So it's like, it will not be allowed anywhere. Right?
It will not be allowed.
Not even capital, not even.
No. Now, this is an issue related to the unlisted shares sold by non-resident. NRI invested in unlisted shares of ABC Realty by remitting foreign exchange in 2015 of $1 lakh. And he sold the same in April 24 and got the $1,50,000 equivalent Indian rupee 1 crore 27 lakhs. How to calculate his capital gain? So as we seen earlier that for non-resident, they have a separate chapter 12A, which is the option that is available with the non-resident. And normal course of long-term capital gain, if you calculate, it will be in 112 because it's an unlisted shares which he has sold. So unlisted shares, the shares calculation under 112 and chapter 12A, what will be the difference? So his point is whether he'll able to claim the benefit of foreign currency loss and indexation because it's a transaction prior to July 23. July 24, 23rd July, 22nd July 24. So whether indexation benefit he can claim. And what will be the applicable tax rate? Yeah. So in 112 subsection 1C, that deals with the 1C deals with the unlisted shares of the for non-resident. So 112 1C subsection 3, when there is unlisted shares are transferred, the proviso of 48, first proviso and second proviso we cannot claim. That is a specific provision in 112C. So first proviso is related to that foreign exchange fluctuation, and second proviso is indexation. So if we do calculation under 112, you cannot claim this both the proviso benefit. So if we do that calculation 112, the calculation will be he has got 1 crore 27 lakh as in Indian rupee and $1,50,000. So his gain is, his cost is 65 lakhs of purchase cost, and 62 lakhs will be his long-term gain. 112(1)(c), the tax rate is 10%. For unlisted equity, even for the non-resident unlisted equity, it is a 10% tax rate which is available for non-resident. Post 23rd July, that rate is now 12.5%. But up to 22nd July, it is a 10%. And if he goes to that chapter 12A, under chapter 12A, he will get the benefit of foreign exchange fluctuation. In chapter 12A, he doesn't get the proviso specific prohibits the benefit of indexation is not available. So he will get the benefit of foreign exchange fluctuation because his tax working is to be done in foreign exchange. So he has got in $1,50,000 as a full value for his sell, and $1 lakh is his cost. So long-term capital gain will be $50,000. So on $50,000, the exchange rate is 85 rupees. So his gain will be 42 lakh 50,000. And here also tax rate is 10%. So he will have a 4,25,000 liability as per chapter 12A and 6,25,000 if we go by 112. So this is how the working is, and same situation if it is post 23rd July, the tax rate is 12.5% instead of 10%.
Condition will be same.
Condition is same. Condition. Huh.
Confusion, one is I did not understand.
See, only conceptual understanding is if you do in 12A, you are eligible to calculate your capital gain in foreign exchange. So the part of the gain is towards exchange gain. You invested at the rate of 65. When you sold, the rate is 85 per dollar. Though 20 rupees is not your actual gain. 20 rupees is just an exchange fluctuation. So when you do in a chapter 12A, you pay tax only on the foreign exchange actual gain which you have received.
Section 48, there also you are allowed, no, that purchase in dollars and.
Yes, 48 for proviso 1 allows it, but when the calculation of unlisted share, you will go back to section 112. Unlisted as long-term capital gain, you will do in 112. 112 subsection 3, subsection C subsection 3, that is for the non-resident. So that section specifically prohibits when you want to do calculation in 112C, proviso, first proviso and second proviso 48 is not eligible. So calculation, you are not eligible to get the foreign exchange fluctuation benefit and indexation benefit when you are doing calculation in 112C. So that is how 112C, your tax rate is 10%, but you are not eligible to get the fluctuation benefit and indexation benefit. So that is why the tax rate is 10%. But in this chapter, you are eligible to get the do your calculation in foreign exchange. So that is how this is beneficial. So now, coming to the PMS fees, that is the, I think, issue somebody raised. Yeah. So PMS is typically used by a lot of high net worth individuals to manage their portfolio, and PMS are being paid based on their performance, based on the advisory they give. So the case study which we have taken is the firm has paid to for PMS fees as a 1 crore, and against that they have received some capital gain during the year. So whether that they can claim that as an expenditure. So this issue is highly debatable, honestly. There are quite a few judgments of Mumbai Tribunal which are against the assessee, but there are lots of judgment in favor of the assessee also, which are Pune Tribunal, Bombay High Court even has confirmed it. So logic which judgments has given is that PMS services are regulated by the SEBI. So these are all PMS advisors are SEBI regulated services. What PMS typically do? They give three type of services. Either they advise you when to buy, which share to buy, how long you want to you should retain the share, and when you sell. That is what typically they do. So ultimately, all the services are related to either purchase or sell. So retention is also, in a way, it is not to sell is also a decision. Retention is not to sell. So either it is for the purchase or sell. So when you do the calculation for capital gain calculation under 48, they allow two components. One is cost of acquisition and improvement, and third is cost for the selling transfer of expenditure wholly and exclusively incurred for the in connection with the transfer. So that is the two costs they allow. So court has given in a detailed understanding what court has analyzed, what sort of how to calculate the cost. See, when 48 says that your full value of consideration is to be taken, so full value of consideration is not defined anywhere. Okay, so full value of consideration can be added or can be deducted based on, say, if I take that PMS services is the services without which I would not have earned the profit. I have earned the profit because there is a PMS services. So it has a overriding effect, overriding title on my income source. So that PMS without PMS services, I would not have earned the income at all. So the income which full value of consideration, you should allow me out of my full value of consideration. Typically, I have received the consideration less that PMS fees, because that is why I have earned the income. Other argument which is being given is when there is a composite cost which is being done, because the typical argument is you cannot have a nexus of cost to each share. So that is how I will not allow the cost. That is the typical argument. You have to load the cost to the acquisition, or you have to load a cost, you have to reduce a cost, you have to load a cost, reduce from your sell price. Then only you should have a nexus to the cost, then only we'll allow. The court has interpreted that when there is a composite cost, you cannot deny the benefit. So there are some Supreme Court judgment on similar issue, which says then when assessee cannot divide between the cost, that does not mean that cost is not allowable. Cost is genuine. Assessee has incurred the cost, that is bona fide. There is no doubt on it. Then cost is eligible. So the issue is the assessee cannot give a one-to-one nexus. Each purchase of share or each sale of share should not be the argument for not allowing the cost. So that is what there is only one judgment, Devendra Motilal Kothari, which is a Bombay Tribunal judgment, where tribunal has given against the assessee, because that in that judgment they have said that the assessee could not give the nexus to the cost because assessee gave the PMS fees based on his global earning or global valuation of the PMS. So he could not provide the exact nexus to the cost, and he is not able to prove the bona fide. So typically, reading all these things, one thing is very important: how your PMS agreement is drafted. That makes a lot of difference at the time of argument. If you are paying a cost typically for purchase, sell, and retention, definitely you are eligible to claim the cost.
अभी तो कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा ना, क्योंकि now there is no indexation, so it doesn't make any difference for this.
No, indexation is not that, but cost is there anyway.
That's
cost
now allowable now.
Cost is there. So when I calculate my long term or short term, if my PMS I am paying, say, out of 10 crore revenue, 1 crore is PMS fees, then that cost is to be reduced from somewhere. But typically the judgments which are in favor of the assessees are majority of the corporates, majority cases are of corporates. I have not come across individual cases where PMS fees courts has allowed. Majority individual cases, it is being disallowed for whatever reason. I don't know what is the logic behind it, but majority of the companies which are holding companies, investment companies, typically majority of the companies, the cost is being allowed, PMS fees is being allowed.
Because they are putting good lawyer. Because they are.
That may be the reason. That may be the reason.
वो फी उनको फीस परवड़ेगा, इंडिविजुअल को कहाँ से फी परवड़ेगा बड़ा लॉयर
How
का.
do we advise our clients and users if there are substantial PMS costs? How do we even?
If it is a cost is substantial, we have to advise a client. We are claiming the cost, but yes, it is subject to litigation. If you are mentally prepared to face the litigation, you claim the cost.
How do we allocate that PMS?
So-
That is a big problem.
So that you have to devise based on you have to see if, based on your agreement with the PMS, if agreement is what is the type of services he is giving. If type of services is for purchase and sell advice, then based on your purchase and sell proportion, you can add up the cost on purchase side and sell side.
They are normally charging 2 or 3%.
But you have to have some basis to be devised, and based on that you have to add up to the cost, purchase side and sell side.
Because the amount will be one. There will be purchase transactions, there will be sale transactions.
Understood. But then see, I'll give the citation that KRA Holding is a judgment where I think that must be there in, yeah, KR Holding is a judgment and Serum International. So go through that judgment. Their tribunal has in detail analyzed the basis how the calculations are being done, and based on that they came to the conclusion it is being allowed.
या पाकिस्तान में 6 भी हो गया.
Good news.
Ready for
Good news.
good news for economy, but
Good news for economy. So
but attacks तो चालू रहेंगे.
Yeah.
होने वाले हैं.
Pakistan resolve.
अच्छा मौका था उनको
उनका कोई अगर वो करता था मालूम ना वो एक्यूरेसी है उनको इसके
एक आध कोट
बंद कर दो करो.
Yeah. And last topic is the business income versus capital gain. I think we briefly already discussed it. So there is a lot of issues related to characterization of business and capital gain. But normally the all these are based on the various circular which CBDT is given. Last circular is that 2016, which I think put rest to a lot of litigation. When assessee has taken particular stand that is a long-term gain or short is capital asset or stock in trade, department will not dispute it unless there is some wrongdoing in the transaction. But in the past, it was being decided based on the quantum of turnover, then frequency of the transaction, holding period, whether it is a borrowing and own funds. A lot of criteria are being evolved, and based on that, they used to decide it. But in 2016 judgment, government has at least in circular itself, they have mentioned that it is difficult to define the intention, or it is difficult to have one taste by which we can measure that whether it is a capital or business, and the department will accept the stand which is the individual has taken. So treatment that is for the unlisted shares, always they treat it as a capital gain. For a listed shares, whatever treatment assessee has given, either stock in trade or capital asset, that same will be taken. I think this ends my. Thank you.
So friends, each session was scheduled for 2 hours. It's ran till 2.5. So 30 minutes extra, sir.
Thank you.
And still everyone is listening and participating interactively. So basic idea behind it was just discussion, deliberation, and pondering on new points. So बहुत अच्छे points मिले हैं आज भी. So though it was a niche area, but has many queries, and like I say, कि capital gain is a different ball game, different chapter. जितना बिजनेस इनकम में क्वेरीज नहीं आती या असेसमेंट नहीं होता, उससे ज्यादा कैपिटल गेन में होता है.
Yes, absolutely.
Because capital gain is a transaction tax, and business income is a P&L account. Transaction tax always has a different flavor, different light, something different in every transaction. So capital gain was the first choice, and that choice was by sir only. मैंने पूछा था सर टॉपिक क्या लेते हैं, कैपिटल गेन ही लेते हैं. तो कैपिटल गेन में तो पूरा साल निकल जाएगा. And there are many.
And particularly this capital market shares.
And everyone is interested, right? Because capital asset like flats and all these things rarely we indulge into. But equity market का तो हर एक का आर्टिकल शिप करता हुआ बच्चा भी आजकल डीमैट अकाउंट ओपन कर. My son, he's investing. He's in final, he's in Deloitte, but उसका खुद का एक पोर्टफोलियो चालू है. तो everyone is interested. So we started with the capital gain, and in my humble submission, plan is to have 2 meetings every month. Let us see how my WRC allow me, but once in a month definitely we will do. My humble request once again to all of you that keep our group alive, keep posting good advices, problems. I would suggest the solution WhatsApp group पे नहीं मिलता. ये मेरा experience है. Since 26 years I am in practice, and जब से ये आया है WhatsApp, तो मैं खुद एडमिन हूँ कम से कम 30-40 प्रोफेशनल ग्रुप्स का, बट मेरा ऑब्जर्वेशन है उसमें नहीं आता सोल्यूशन.
स्टडी ग्रुप में जो बात कर सकते हैं ना, वो स्टडी सर्कल में नहीं होता. लेकिन सर इंस्टीट्यूट ने स्टडी ग्रुप क्यों बंद कर दिया?
चालू है सर, इसकी बात करते हैं.
यहाँ पे हमारा बोरीवली सब जगह था ना, वहाँ पे
नहीं सर, उसमें ऐसा है, even at I belong to Navi Mumbai, we have subject groups internally we are running. If you are taking any grant or benefit from the WIRC or ICAI, then only see knowledge dissemination या फिर interactions are always allowed. तो अपने personal level पे आप करो, कोई issue नहीं है, but ये promote करना है अपने को. This kind of activities are more relevant, more effective, and हो सकता है कि आप में से कोई faculty बन के यहाँ पे आके बैठ जाए. सर है, हर एक के पास knowledge है. Only thing that एक opportunity मिलनी चाहिए. तो ये मेरा I'll focus on having at least 2 meetings. ग्रुप में आप एक्टिव रहो, बिकॉज क्या होता है बीइंग आरसीएम वी हैव मेनी एक्टिविटीज. अभी 7:30 बजे हमारा और एक मीटिंग है यहाँ पे. सो इधर बैठ के मैं वही मैनेज कर रहा था. आवर चेयरमैन इज एट बीकेसी भिवंडी. ही इज कमिंग बैक फॉर दैट मीटिंग. तो इतना हमारा चालू रहता है. वी कैन ऑलवेज फोकस ऑन द ग्रुप्स. ये ग्रुप अपना सबका, आप उसमें इन्वॉल्व रहो. जिसमें कुछ चाहिए तो बताओ. अगर कोई दूसरा टॉपिक पे अगर आपको बात करनी है, पर्सनल डीएम कर दो कि सर ये टॉपिक पे क्या हो सकता है, और गिव मी सफिशिएंट टाइम. मतलब आज आपने बोल दिया 4 दिन में ऑर्गेनाइज करना मुश्किल होता है. फैकल्टी देखना है, उनका वर्जन देखना है, या हो सकता है कि मैंने एक टॉपिक बोला, सर ने दूसरा बोला, तीसरा किसी और ने बोला, तो उसमें से बेस्ट कुछ निकाल दे. तो ये 12 महीने का 12 असाइनमेंट्स है. विल ट्राई टू मेक इट 24, जितना भी मैक्सिमम हो जाए. बीच बीच में डायरेक्ट टैक्स का DTRC एक्सेट्रा एक्टिविटीज आती है, तो विल ट्राई टू कवर. सबसे important, we are going to do the orientation for comparison of act and code. वो एक हम लोग करेंगे और I'll request all of you, जब भी हम लोग ये स्टडी मीट के लिए आते हैं, ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग के लिए आते हैं, टॉपिक तो हमने पहले ही डाला है, एक क्वेश्चनर भी दे देना, क्वेश्चनर ग्रुप में भी डाल देना, सो दैट अभी जब फर्स्ट था सर ही थे, तो वी विल डिस्कस दैट क्वेश्चनर in advance with the faculty also, so that our discussion will be to that point, okay, to make more of it, take more benefit from that interaction. Last but not the least, started with bang, we will continue this way, and I'm thankful personally also at WRC also, and from all the attendees here. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. I hope I'm able to give the justice to the topic.
That is your humbleness.
Unfortunately.
Please come here, we'll have one photograph.
Yeah.
10 days before.